Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 36, Jerome Bettis episode of Three in the
Boss,
Keystone.
E West. What about Brian Westbrook?
Yeah, that's a
Come
violation.
on, dude.
When you think
Run that back.
36,
Start the
is,
beat up
is
again.
Westbrook the first one that comes to your mind? For me, it's
Yeah, I
Bettis.
thought about it at the end of last episode.
I think we gotta have to start doing an episode for naming an episode after every player.
Well, yeah, I was doing it for a little bit. We're going to be screwed next week.
We could Eric Desjardins.
Ask your pop about how he feels about Desjardins.
Yeah, known fact. Jeff not a big Desjardins guy. But I'm Adam Seltzer alongside Chris Guest and Al Ryan. And Al, back from vacation.
Penn State's dancing.
What'd you say?
Penn State's dancing. Don't bury the lead.
That was my question I was going to ask you. Is you're on vacation in Florida with your wife at a wedding. How much Penn State basketball did she let you watch this past weekend?
So it ended up, I got pretty lucky. So I watched a lot of it on my phone because we were out and about for the last the semifinals and the quarterfinals. But for the finals Sunday against Purdue, it just so happened to be adult nap time. And all the adults in my house went and took naps. So we had Casey sleeping. We had Jack and Jen Corcoran sleeping. Shout out Jen Corcoran, avid listener.
There you go.
Said we have some great voices for radio. Said she listens in the car and it sounds like we're talking to her. So hello, Jen. Jelly and Mrs. Jelly were sleeping. So I went out, I jumped in the lagoon, I came back and I watched that final. I watched that final all by myself in the living room.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
What did you think of Key Largo?
We liked it. So, you know what? We had a lot to do. So we weren't necessarily always looking for something to do. So it was just a lot of going out, eating, went out on a glass bottom boat. We had the wedding, which was, a fantastic time. So it was good. It was a nice
different than what you expected, though, isn't it?
Well, no, I can't say because we were always doing something.
No, I mean just the way the town looks.
Oh yeah. I get what you guys were saying when you brought that up. That it is kind of just like a strip, a road, and then there's just stuff on the sides.
Yeah, no big hotels or anything of that nature or anything like that.
We were in kind of like a private I don't know if condominium establishment is the word. It seemed like it was like condos and maybe hotels, but we had our own pools, we had our own little lagoon. Nice. We had beach access. It was really nice.
That was nice.
Glass bottom boat. You living, kid.
Glass bottom boat. Yeah, AC was broke, so I didn't spend too much time down there.
That's a killer.
It had to be probably about 90 by now down there, right?
It was hot. It was 80s and sunny. It was hot.
Yeah.
We keep ducking and dodging these snowstorms, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah, we do.
I think this
is over.
But let's jump into tonight's topics. As usual, we'll start with segment 1, where we'll go into Philly sports. And tonight's topic, we're going to turn it back a couple weeks. We're going to talk Eagles. NFL free agency opened up this past week. We teased it many times during the season, the number of outstanding free agents the Eagles had. And I don't think you truly felt it until the beginning of this week, when it just felt, at least initially, like a mass exodus, especially from the defensive side of the ball. Marcus Epps, Andre Dillard, Javon Hargrave, KJ Edwards, Kaiser White, all gone. 4 starters from the defense there, and Andre Dillard, obviously, probably the number 1 reserve offensive lineman. They did end up saving face a little bit, bringing back Bradbury this evening prior to the podcast at a reduced rate, a little hometown discount from Bradbury. But still outstanding is TJ Gardner-Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Miles Sanders, and Isaac Sayamalu. I guess we could throw it. I think it's a pretty obvious answer. But who's the biggest priority in your eyes to bring back at this point? Chris?
Gardner-Johnson is a big priority at this point. Especially losing Epps already, which, by the way, I think I don't know if I think the national media and maybe even some people in the league like that kid more than a lot of the Eagle fans. I myself have never been a big Epps guy. I think he's very average, and I think he's looked better because of the help he's had around him. At this point in the game, if you put him on a team and expect him to be a big a lead dog in your defense. I don't know if that's going to happen. So, but CJ Gardner-Johnson definitely has that dog in him. So I hope we can bring him back somehow at this point. Still, we have to restructure Lane and Slay. Slay, balls in his court. Bradbury already took a little bit of a cut to stay here. Slay's turn. If we can restructure, I think that it's mutual, both sides. But if he's not willing to do it the way that we need him to do it, they've already said they're willing to trade him. I'm not as worried as some people are about it. For me, Slay is like the guy where it's like, if he's here, great. If he's not, we'll figure it out. He's 32. He didn't look great in the second half of the year. He was really good the first half. Didn't look great second half. But he's still at worst, top 10 corner in football. So you don't want to get rid of those guys or lose those guys, but at the same time, because of his age, I think, and depending on what number we're looking at, I'd be okay with moving him. Definitely don't want to lose him for nothing, though. That's for sure.
Slay or Gardner Johnson? I guess by your tone, it's
Gardner Johnson. It's more important. At this point, Gardner
Johnson.
Yeah, you can't lose both starting safeties. I don't want to see a world where Reed Blankenship potentially has to fill in one of those starting roles, and then you bring someone else in from the outside. I mean, look, secondary is important. I mean, we were blessed to have one of the best pass rushes in the history of the Eagles franchise last year. And that really took a lot of weight off their shoulders. But the other thing that did was the fact that we played a lot of bad quarterbacks. And this coming season, we're going to play some better ones. We got Buffalo on the schedule. We got Kansas City on the schedule. We potentially have a New York Jets team that it looks like maybe going after Aaron Rodgers on the schedule. And I know he's been up and down lately, but I think the signing of Bradbury, the re-signing, can't be understated, in my opinion, how important that was to shore up at least one of the sides of the football field in the secondary. You don't necessarily have to target a defensive back now with that 10th pick or that 30th pick. I'm not saying that they necessarily shouldn't, but I don't think it's as big of a need anymore since you re-signed Bradbury.
Oh, I disagree with that.
I mean, I'm saying as it would have been if they, I mean, this is obvious, if they didn't sign Bradbury or Slayback, which
without
was a possibility.
I think there's a lot more optimism because there was a point yesterday where there was a realistic path that you were going to lose all four guys from your secondary last year.
Yeah, it looked like, I mean, you said the words, it looked like a mass exodus was occurring.
And now I think Bradbury's back. The Slay talk has seemed to calm itself down. And if you can find a way to bring back Gardner Johnson, all of a sudden you have 3/4 of that back when it didn't look like that optimistic as of yesterday.
Yeah, my gut tells me that they're going to figure out a way to keep Slay here this coming year, even if it's just for this year only. But I think to go further into what you were saying as far as what I disagree with, but I think Bradbury is a really good corner. I think he is a dominant number 2. But if you have him as your number 1 corner, that makes me I'm a little bit nervous about that. So I still think that there's a path for you. Let's say, for instance, for sake of argument, let's say Slay gets traded or whatever happens, he's not on the team next year, and you have Bradbury as your number 1. You definitely need, in my opinion, I'm definitely drafting a corner at 10. And I like Gonzalez. I like Witherspoon from Illinois a lot.
Joey Porter Jr.
Go ahead.
Joey Porter Jr.
Joey Porter Jr. is another one. But the Illinois kid he's my number 1 target. But Porter's right there. One of those 3, I think you definitely have to draft at 10 if Slay is not part of your plans next year. You can't go into a season with Bradbury as your definitive number 1, nobody on the other side is number 2, and then Maddox, who's injury prone the last few years, as your slot. I think you're in a little bit of a tough spot if that plays out.
So if they keep Slay, are you still drafting a corner at 10?
I love that kid, man. I might, but I would be a lot more open to going somewhere else. With that said, but if he's definitely not here or part of the plan, that's no doubt about it where I'm going with that 10th pick.
Okay.
Fletcher Cox, you guys know more than I. Fletcher, you think he's done here? Or you think he resigns for on the cheap?
I think he's done. I think at some point you got to see what the Jordan Davis kid has, which I mean, that's the role he's going to be playing, right? Kind of run stuffing, up the middle, D tackle. I don't see Fletcher Cox wasn't that much of a game changer this past season.
No.
And how cheap is on the cheap? I mean, we're at a position here where we really got to start like cutting cost here. We know what's on the horizon. We can't mess around.
Right. Every penny counts. No pun intended. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
I mean, there's
I see what you did there.
So,
but Milton Williams is another one.
Yeah, I was just about to say
an opportunity for him. You know, it's his third year, fourth year.
Yeah, I believe it's his third. He's a nice player. He's a nice piece. But yeah, especially if we're running a 3-4 again this year, you got to have two big guys in that middle of the defense anchoring it. So obviously Jordan Davis has to step up and be the guy that we think he can be. But I wouldn't mind having Fletcher back for another year if it's a situation like similar to what Brandon's was. But a couple of these losses that we've had personnel wise, I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm not like I have confidence in Jordan coming back this year in his second year. I have confidence in Nakobe Dean taking Edwards' spot. I think that those guys can step up. It's not like we're losing Lawrence Taylor and Bruce Smith. And like, I mean, we lost some. Javon Hargraves is a really good player. He's one of the top defensive tackles in football. That's an L for us. I admit that. But some of the other spots that we're losing, I don't know. I'm just not.
Edwards had a nice year, but again, not irreplaceable.
Yeah. And
anything with White.
And even with, I know Samalu is still out there. I'm fine with keeping him where he is and letting him find a job somewhere else and having Juergens play guard while Kelsey's here another year. Juergens can play that position just like he can play center. He's obviously the center of the future. And so he was handpicked by Kelsey, basically, from all accounts, that he totally co-signed on that pick when they made it. But for right now, he's got to start playing. So put him at the guard spot. You go with him and Dickerson at the guard, Kelsey in the middle at the center. You still got two dominant tackles at Mailata and Lane Johnson on the outside. Depth takes a little bit of a hit, but as far as the starters are concerned, they're still right there with the best with anybody.
I think the point you made is crucial. And it's this. We gave Howie a lot of credit for last year's draft class. A lot of people really, really liked the draft class. And at the end of the day, those three guys, while still highly thought of, didn't play major roles on this football team last year. And it's time for them to step into those starting roles and perform. And that's going to be a real key for how good this team is. And we're talking about Jordan Davis, who probably of the three played the largest role, but only played 10 snaps in the Super Bowl. Cam Juergens didn't play. Nakobe Dean didn't really play.
But let's not act like they were sitting there and were in competition for those roles. I mean, they had bona fide starters in front of them.
Absolutely. I'm not criticizing them for not cracking the rotation. But now it's time, as much credit as we gave Howie for, we thought it was a really good draft. It's time for those guys to step up and perform. So that's going to be the key, because as we run into this Jalen Hurts contract and moving forward, the draft class has become more and more important. You have to infuse your team with young, affordable talent. And I was looking through the draft history, and Howie's draft history outside of that one class in 2018, I think it was, it doesn't do a ton for me.
He's done worlds better the last couple of years. I still like.
Has he?
I think so. I still like the draft class from last year. I still believe in that class.
Okay, but that's
drafting Hurts in the second round at this point now was a stud selection.
Okay, okay. So let's look through it a little bit. So last year, can we all say, like, you might still like it, but it's incomplete to grade it at this point?
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, you can. Okay. I mean, they didn't have any places to put those guys in last year.
So let's go back. Let's go 2017. So we'll go the year after Wentz.
That's a little bit further down the road than I was talking about the last 3 years.
Okay. Even the last three, let's go last four then. So the year before, I think it's a decent class. You got Devontae Smith at 10, is a good pick. Landon Dickerson has proven himself to be an NFL caliber player. Milton Williams, we'll find out. Zach McPherson, Ken Gainwell, and then nothing really else. But I think that's a decent draft class. You guys agree with that?
Absolutely. McPherson's
That's a good draft. That's
Yeah,
good. I'm willing to give it a good, like a 3 out of 5 star grade. 3.5.
I'll give it higher than that.
Yeah, because I think Devontae and Landon Dickerson are, if you can hit two potential like guys that are going to start for any NFL team, I think you've got a good draft there.
And they're going to be Pro Bowl players. Those two, like I don't think that's a question. I think that those are bona fide studs. And also Milton Williams is a contributor. He has been from the jump. McPherson's been a contributor on special teams. So you've gotten contributions from all those guys.
Yeah, that's a very good draft.
Okay.
That's a very good draft.
The year before, the Hurts pick saved him because here are the other guys who are still active in the NFL that he drafted. Jalen Reagor, Davion Taylor, Kayvon Wallace, Jack Driscoll, Sean Bradley, Quez Watkins, Prince Tega Wanagu, and Casey Toohill. If he doesn't pick Jalen Hurts, that's a horrible draft class.
So Toohill actually is, I believe he starts actually on Washington, I know he was starting a couple games last year somewhere. So he actually can play, but he just didn't make it with us. Who was the Samoan kid? He hasn't really done anything.
Quez.
Who was it?
Quez,
I don't like, but he's been a contributor at least.
Reagor, I mentioned. Davion Taylor.
Taylor's trash. And
Kayvon Wallace.
Kayvon Wallace is trash.
And then Jack Driscoll and Sean Bradley are depth.
Driscoll's depth. Bradley's a special teams guy. So those are okay. But yeah, that was I'd probably give that like.
I mean, he took Hurts.
C minus.
That's fair.
It's
actually C because it hurts. Yeah,
I think you got to even maybe C plus because you got your franchise quarterback.
That's true. Yeah,
it's crazy how close that was from being an all-time draft if he just would have taken Justin Jefferson.
Oh,
it's insane.
Jesus.
And then the draft before that, if we go one more back, this is the class that I think it's a you could say disaster. Eagles had 5 picks, none of which are on the roster anymore, because you had 2 guys not in the NFL, Arcega-Whiteside, who is obviously a massive bust, and then Miles Sanders and Andre Dillard, who obviously are leaving in free agency this year.
Yeah, but Miles Sanders was a key contributor for a Super Bowl team.
I understand, but to waste it to spend a second round pick when a guy's only on your team for 4 years, I don't.
But he's a running back, though. I mean, how many teams are willing to give a running back a second contract?
I know, but that's why are you taking one in the second round? That would be my argument back at you. When you could take somebody a better. Miles is a good player, no doubt.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He could play though. It's not like
absolutely. But I would say Dillard was not a great first round pick. He didn't even.
Yeah,
I think he's proven to be a very good drafter. I mean, I know we have to limit it, but the year before that we get Goddard, Sweat, Mailata.
That's the class. That's the class that saved him.
Yeah, but it's almost like every other year he kind of saves himself.
Well, hopefully.
And let's not forget. I know he didn't draft him, but he made the move to bring in AJ Brown.
Yeah, I'm talking drafts. I'm not talking.
I know, but that's through the draft. I mean,
right? He did have to trade equity.
He's not a one-trick pony. He can do a lot of things well as a GM. Now this is going to be his greatest test. He has a Super Bowl contending team that's going to have a lot of holes because of the cap. Now, what can he do? He really needs to work his magic now.
But this is his expertise, though, is the cap.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because this kind of ties into it. Do you want to see the Eagles make a move in this coming draft as far as potentially trading out of one of the spots in the first round, moving back, moving up, just pulling something off?
I think it depends on the board at the time. I mean, I would look at I don't know what's going to happen with Jalen Carter, but if he's there by 8, I'm making a move to get up.
Okay.
I mean,
I was going to say we presume that there's going to be 4 QBs taken.
Right.
Anderson's gone. I was going to say Carter's gone. And
I mean, he should be, but
from there, take your pick.
Yeah, he should be gone by then. But if anything happens with, the charges that he had, the misdemeanor charge and all that kind of stuff, which conveniently came out around the time of the combine, happens every year. Somebody leaks stuff and things happen right around that time where teams are starting to make their draft boards. If it's looking more like he's going to be able to get a little, like, I don't want to say get away with it, but if he's going to be able to kind of push that to the side and not have that be an issue, I'm very comfortable with taking him around that time frame. I wouldn't jump up higher than like 7 or 8, but if he's there at 8, I got to make a move.
And they've proven that. I mean, that's a position that they value.
Yes.
Yeah.
The D line.
And having two Georgia Bulldogs in the middle of our, anchoring our D line for the next however 8-10 years, that would be that's the best defense in the country. Having two of them and then a linebacker behind them from there that have shown that they have the ability to play at a dominant level. I'm signing up on that all the time.
I'm a big subscriber to the let's load up on SEC guys.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's a different level of football down there. And if you're getting guys from a Georgia or from an Alabama, I mean that's a different level altogether.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I've said before, I struggle looking at, if I'm a GM, I struggle looking at anybody outside the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't even.
You always say that.
Huh?
You always say that.
Yeah, I really. The brand of football is so blue collar, so hard nosed, so tough and rugged, and just
not even just that, Chris, but also just the preparation as far as the work, like the work that you have to put in to play for a Big Ten or SEC school, especially if you're, let's say, a 3-year starter or we've got a 4-year. I mean, you have the facilities, everything, the coaching staff. I mean, it's all just it's a professional run division conference, excuse me.
I mean, and you got guys like AJ Brown and DK Metcalf that came out of schools like Ole Miss that don't, they're not a dominant team in college because of the conference. I mean, they're also in the same conference every year with Alabama and Georgia. So we don't really hear a lot about them, but once they get out of there and get to showcase themselves as individuals, they pop off the screen.
Right.
Guys from Ole Miss, Tennessee, all like these schools that we don't hear of all the time, but that's because they're in that conference. It's so good.
Right.
Let's flip sides of the ball and go to the offense where there's not as many issues. Obviously, we get the great news that Jason Kelce decides to come back, which really fills a lot of holes because, again, you can now move the Cam Jurgens into the guard spot when theoretically you're going to have to fill that spot when, say, Amalu left. And you just get the veteran presence and basically the team leader back for another year.
And shame on any Eagles fans that wanted him to retire. You got to be a moron. It's insane sometimes, the stuff that comes. Maybe it's me. I got to stop listening to so much sports talk radio on my way home from work. But, you got to be an absolute idiot to have wanted that man to retire.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Calling in left and right saying that it's time for him to go. He's old. We don't want to pay him any money, even if it's on a 1-year deal. We got to get Jurgens reps. Come on.
I think it's a lot about the money. He was making 14 and a quarter to come back. I think a lot of people were frustrated with that number, but he's still an all-time guy, and he's still playing at a high level. Let's not forget, he's not just it's a sentimental pick. The guy's still a Pro Bowl caliber center. He's still arguably the best center in football.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm totally if he retired, I would have tipped my cap, said thanks for everything, moved on because we had to. But if we don't have to, I'm not ready to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Couldn't agree with you guys more.
Yeah. And our team is built on our offense. Let's not get it twisted. Our offense is what got us where we got last year. And unfortunately, our defense, all we needed them to do was show up half-assed, and they couldn't do that in the biggest moment. But we still have a franchise quarterback. We still have 2 bona fide number 1 receivers. We still have a top 3, maybe 4 tight end in football. We still have arguably the best O-line in football. So offensively, with all this being said, with all this moving and shaking going on in the last few days, our offense is still prime. I have no worries about that at all.
Initial thoughts on the Rashad Penny deal to come in and play running back. 1 year, I believe it was about $2 million. So not a lot of money. I think only guaranteed about, 800 and something thousand.
So I'll go ahead, Al.
If he's it, right? If we're rolling into next season with him playing in the Miles Sanders role, I would say I'm like a 6 out of 10 on the cause for concern scale. I don't think he's as good as Sanders, but he's cut from the same cloth as far as not a lot of tread on the tires, high yards per carry, kind of does a lot of the same things. And maybe it's just because he's played out west that I don't really know much about him. But I'd like to see someone a little bit more of a name if they're going to be signing somebody.
Go ahead, Chris.
I think that they're going for the best bang for their buck at that position.
Yeah, agreed.
Obviously Miles wanted to stay, and a lot of the fans would have liked him to stay, but the money didn't add up for what we're doing right now. But Penny, I saw something earlier. Penny actually, I know he's been a little bit injury prone since he's been in the league, but since he's been drafted, he actually leads the league among running backs in yards per carry.
Yeah.
So he's a banger, and that's what we need. We need a guy that can run through guys, to put it bluntly. And he's a big low risk, high reward guy. This guy's got top 5 at least fantasy production potential with this offense and with this O-line. Remember, Seattle's had issues with their O-line for years. That's why Russ did what he did. So now that he has an O-line to run behind, he's got a quarterback that, makes defenses think twice about what he's doing, the direction he's going. I think he's got huge potential. He's got to stay on the field, though. That's the thing. Before that, I was all in on, if it was possible, somehow trading up from 30 and getting Robinson from Texas. Totally fine with that. I think that ship now has probably sailed. I think they're comfortable. The rumor was they were comfortable with Gainwell as the number 1 guy before free agency started. So if that was true, and now they went after Penny, between those two, Boston Scott just re-signed today as well. I think that they are confident in those 3. I don't think there's room for Robinson at this point in the game, which further points me into the direction of a cornerback. If Slay's gone, that further puts me into that boat of getting a cornerback in that 10th pick.
And I think, Chris, a name that you've mentioned on this podcast before is Trey Sermon, who is also in that backfield mix. And to me, I think he's the X factor, because I actually think Penny is a legit, really, really good running back. I think he's the echelon of Miles Sanders. Problem is, he just can't stay on the field.
Right.
I think he's played 42 of 80 career games, somewhere along those lines. So if he can stay healthy, that's the key. But again, I think as far as the Eagles go, you have to factor in, okay, if he's not healthy, where do we go from here? And at that point, I think it becomes a 3-headed monster with Sermon. So I do think there's some optimism there. But I think they're etching Gainwell into a little bit more of a role than he had last year. You'll see more of a timeshare with him and Penny, and then Scott will play his normal role where he scores touchdowns against the Giants.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned with Sermon. As much as I like him, I just don't know why he didn't get to dress more last year. That concerns me. They were more confident and comfortable in Gainwell and Boston Scott than a guy who started for the 49ers not for a whole bunch of years, but he was a big time prospect for them.
He was a 3rd-round draft pick, was he not?
Yeah, he was a big time prospect for him. So kid can play. Coming from a college where he's obviously he was a guy, but he's battle tested, been in big games against good defenses. So it's not like he's coming from Joe Blow State and then came in the league, had one flash, and then that was it. Like, the guy can play, but I'm just concerned with why he didn't dress more. Hopefully we'll get to see him a little bit more this year. But all that being said, it's no reason why I would back off of the whole Robinson pick. I think that point, like I said, I think that ship is sailed at this point, and they can focus elsewhere. But our offense is fine.
Running backs has never been their style. I mean, outside of obviously Miles, but drafting running backs that early has never been a Howie thing. We're paying up.
That's that early too, I think.
My questions for you is: we still obviously have some couple holes on this team. Are there any free agents out there that light your fancy or are in specific holes that the Eagles need to fill for you? I'll throw it to you, Al, first.
No, I didn't have anybody on the list because I was more concerned with who they were keeping, and as the course of the day went on, and some of the dominoes fell, I was just very happy that they brought back Bradbury. The one guy I don't want to see them bring in is Jacoby Brissett.
That's guest boy.
What? Come.
Well, here's why. It seems like there's a lot of smoke. So, guess you might be getting your wish.
He's really close with Sirianni.
Yeah, Sirianni loves him.
Backup quarterback's a spot they need to fill, and I was talking about holes, and that's definitely one of them.
I agree that they need to fill it. I don't think they need to fill it for the price potentially that Jacoby Brissett is going to cost them. I think he's going to be a little too much just for the backup role.
I'm looking at who else is out there.
I was going to say the market for that. I mean, the 49ers, they signed Darnold.
Carson Wentz.
Oh, God.
I'm not even thinking about that. Dalton
There's
got
there's
signed
talk
by
there's talk about Brissett going to Tampa Bay and starting. So I imagine he's going to command some dollars.
well, they've been rumored with every mediocre like fringe starting quarterback to be like they were rumored with Baker Mayfield, they're rumored with him, they're rumored to just have Kyle Trask get a chance to start. I don't know what they're gonna do.
There's a Pro Bowler out there.
Who?
Tyler Huntley.
Oh my god. Well, you know what? I did say before I would like to get a backup that's mobile, similar to Jalen, and can run similar plays that Hurts can run, because we had to change the offense way too much for Minshew when Hurts was out those couple games.
Sounds like you like Marcus Mariota.
Mariota's I don't know what his price would be, but I think Mariota's a very good option.
Or what about your boy?
I would actually
Walker. Philip Walker, your boy.
Walker.
Pride of Temple.
Yeah, former XFL MVP, I think.
Yeah, no, I can't. I don't know if I could. I don't know. It depends on if those other two guys get taken or too much money. I might consider it. But...
Or Al's boy, Trace McSorley.
Oh, bring him on, baby. Let's go.
I'd rather have what's your boy's name that just got out of there? I think he got out of there. Clifford.
Oh yeah, not Clifford. What is it?
Yeah,
Levis.
From
no, it's Pennsylvania Penn State quarterback. Sean Clifford.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he's like 38.
We could draft him and bring in McSorley. Yeah, Clifford will be like the veteran, the KG veteran on the team.
Or my homie Ian Book might get a bump.
I'll give you a name, and listen, I'm going to be the first one to tell you that the NFL salary cap is a giant puzzle in my head that I don't think I'll ever truly understand, because people just move money around and create space. I'm not sure. I think he probably will price himself out, but Adam Thielen really intrigues me.
I just looked at his name as well.
I was thinking about him yesterday too for a slot guy. From what I understand, a lot of scouts are saying he'd be best fit now with a team that he can play in the middle of the offense, in the middle of the field. I mean, That's exactly what we need.
Yep.
But there's rumors that he might be interested in going to Buffalo with Stephon. Him and Stephon are really close, apparently, and there's rumors that he might be kicking tires with the Bills.
I feel like they have a couple of slot guys. Jamison Crowder is also out there. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but he's a slot guy. Jarvis Landry is another one.
Yeah, a lot of guys I'd pick over Quez. I think Quez is Darius. I take Darius Slayton over Quez.
I want a big body, short hand guy.
But that's not really a slot guy, though. Slot guys are really more shifty, and they're not really.
You can move our guys around. You can move Devontae to the slot.
That's true.
AJ in the slot.
That's true. I think our strength is on the outside, though. But yeah, you could. There's a guy off the top of my head I'm thinking about. I don't think he's gotten picked up yet, but I'd like to see Donald Parham on the offense on the other side of
tight end
Dallas Goedert.
Oh, if I'm going to bring in a tight end, what if we bring in like a Robert Tonyan Jr.? A big body boy up in there. I don't even know how big he is.
Parham's huge, bro. Parham's like 6'6".
Yeah,
he's a big dude. There was a couple other guys that I was thinking about. Irv Smith too. I don't know what his price is going to be if he wants to. Gesicki, same thing. I'm not sure what their price is going to be. I'm not looking to spend an arm and a leg on a backup tight end or a second string tight end. Taylor Rapp is a guy as a safety that if we can't bring Gardner Johnson back, I think Taylor Rapp is going to be. He's a good player. He's only 25. Played for the Rams, won a ring, and he should be a lot more affordable. As well as who was the other guy?
Isn't Gesicki a free agent?
Gesicki, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Oh, Jordan Poyer. Jordan Poyer is 31. He's a little bit older, so that might actually mean he might be a little bit cheaper also. But Poyer can ball. He's a good player too, for that safety spot. So like those are a couple of guys I was thinking about as far as the safety is concerned. If Gardner Johnson doesn't come back, but Gardner Johnson's only 25. He's entering his prime. He had 6 picks last year. Major part of the defense. On and off the field, they got to figure it out. I mean, I'd hate to be in a position where we got to look at those other guys, unless you're trying to get someone alongside him, which we also need, I guess, if you're going to have a cover 2 type defense. I'm not sure what's his name? I'm going blank on his name.
Blankenship.
No, the guy, the defensive player we just got, Desai or whatever his name.
Oh
is.
Yeah, from Seattle.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure exactly if he's into the cover 2 or not, but I don't think he is. But
I don't know his scheme. But you know what else? I think, as Eagles fans, it's you got to remember we got to be patient. Like this really came hot and heavy these last couple of days of free agency, but a lot of Howie's best moves last year came afterwards. It came
great
in
point.
April and beyond with the AJ Brown trade, the CJ Gardner Johnson trade, the Bradbury signing. So I think he's a guy that likes to keep some tricks up his sleeves and not really play everything right away, not push all his chips to the middle right away. He likes to save some on the back end. So
100%. And a guy like Poyer, who, like I said, is 31. He could be a prime candidate that doesn't get signed for a little while, still to see what the market does or dictates for him. Another guy too in that boat. I don't know. I don't think we're going to be too happy by hearing it, but Jadeveon Clowney is another prime guy that we could see ourselves having, similar to how we had with Michael Bennett back in the day. Maybe if we get him late, I could see that happening. He's only 30. I thought he was older than that.
He's just bounced around from so many different teams.
And he always seems to leave in a worse way than he came in.
On a sour note.
Yeah.
I'd bring him in, though. I would take the chance because of the guys we have in that locker room with a Brandon Graham and a Hassan Reddick and a Josh Sweat. Yeah. I'm confident that they could kind of make sure he stays, with a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah. I want to say, too, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun on what you have playing, Seltzer, but the Giants getting Darren Waller and Bobby Okereke from the Colts that's a nice couple moves that they just made.
You in on Waller? He had one or two good years, but he's been injury prone the last couple of years.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with him now. He's a beast. I don't want to deal with him. I can see where you're coming from, but I'm not willing to assume that that's going to be like a non-issue. I think he's very much potentially in his prime and can really do some damage. Also, Dallas just traded for
it's Gilmore, Stephon Gilmore.
Stephon Gilmore, yeah.
So he's still good.
What did you say?
Is he still good?
Yeah, he's solid. I mean, he's not what he was, but
he's old. He's okay, right?
Yeah. But they're missing. I mean, Dalton Schultz is a free agent for them. We'll see what happens with Zeke. Not that he's a huge loss either way, but he still was a guy who carried the ball for them. They're going to have to fill that spot. So we'll see. And we'll talk NFC East as we get a little bit closer to the season. But I guess we can close with this. Chris, so far the offseason, as expected, worse than expected, or better than expected?
I think it's as expected. I'm not, like I said, I'm not really overly concerned. I know a lot of people are just a little bit scared. I'm not. I think that we're going to be fine. I trust Howie. Al made a great point that he's done a lot of his best work as the offseason has gone on deeper. So, and he's a cap guy. That's his specialty. So he'll figure it out. He'll figure out a way to get Hurts's deal. He'll figure out a way to do a lot of these things to get us a team. They're not looking to take a step back by any means. They're right on the cusp again of a title. They're in a division with a lot of hardware in it. All those other three teams have won hardware. So they're definitely want to get more than just that one ring. And like I said, I feel like this organization has the potential to win 3 in the next 10 years. I still believe that.
Al?
Listen, we talked about it. Javon Hargrave is a fantastic football player. But outside of Javon Hargrave, we didn't lose anybody that we can't replace. Not yet. And we brought back 2 of the most important pieces, in my opinion, in Jason Kelce and Bradbury. And we bring in a guy that's going to replace Miles Sanders and Rashad Penny. So if I got to say, so far better than expected for me, especially just based on also kind of the chatter that we've heard over the last week with all the stuff that we talked about with the secondary, potentially losing all 4 pieces. And it seems like that's starting to shift now. So I got to say better than expected. I'm feeling pretty positive about the offseason so far.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. How about real quick? How about the 40 whiners wanting to be us taking our best dude?
Yeah,
trying to build that D line like we had last year that killed them.
Yeah,
they got a lot of subs on that D line on their team now.
Yeah, that's you say what you want, but that's a hell of an upgrade for them.
Oh yeah, 100%. But they got to get a quarterback.
That is true.
Yeah, that's like one year though. I played fantasy and somebody drafted like Gonzalez and Gates, and it was like a 1 tight end starting league, and like the thought was like, oh, somebody's going to have to trade for one of them. Well, I mean, you can only put so many guys on the field at the same position.
Nah, I mean, from a D-line perspective, it's different. You look at the Eagles this year with that depth and rotating guys.
I don't
And that's
disagree, but they still have a huge friggin' hole under center. I know that they can't necessarily fix that, right now in free agency, but
who did they pick up? Not a good player. It was
Darnold.
Darnold, correct. So they have
Yeah, so they
Darnold,
got
Purdy, and Lance.
and Darnold. I mean, Purdy's not going to be able to play to start the season. Lance, who knows what his deal is. And then you got Darnold. So
It'll be Lance's job to lose to start the season. But
no, if he don't listen at this point, if he still don't start, then I think they got to start fielding calls.
so
If he can't get on the field now,
before we move on, I have a kind of a lighthearted question here. I have the rare opportunity to purchase 3 jerseys, all Eagles jerseys, all actual players that played for the Eagles, that all share the names of my children. So with the signing of Rashad Penny, my youngest,
oh, that's awesome.
Penny, Deshaun Jackson, obviously for Jackson, and a little bit of a reach here, but if I can find a Jannard Avery jersey,
You might think that custom.
yeah. So all you guys out there, all you listeners on the Twitter sphere, if you have a jersey hookup,
let me know.
let the Ryan family will be going out in style this year.
That's hilarious.
But gentlemen, I have something for you.
Breaking news.
It's that time of year. March is upon us. By no means, I think, do any of us identify as college basketball gurus, but we are going to talk March Madness in segment 2. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Well,
Welcome back to segment 2. It's March. It's time to dance. The tournament is on. And we're not just talking college basketball. Al, tell them what's up our sleeves.
So we decided as a crew here, we wanted to get in on the March Madness excitement a little bit. So Chris, Adam, and myself, we put together the 64 best nicknames in all of sports history. And we're going to put them together in a winner-take-all style bracket that will be posted on Instagram and Twitter for you to vote on. So please make sure you give us a follow on Instagram at 3K_podcast. And on Twitter at 3K podcast with no underscore. The links are all on, like, if you follow myself, I have like the link tree in my bio on Instagram. So you can find all of our links there, all of our socials there. But make sure you give us a follow, or at the very least, check out the story on Instagram on the next couple of days. And just quick clicks, man. Get some votes in. We need some votes on these names. We got some good ones.
Give us feedback on any of the other topics that we talk about on a weekly basis. What do you like? What do you not like? And so on and so forth. But gentlemen, I have to ask. I know what the answer to this is going to be, but I have a violation proposal for myself. I'm going to call myself out. So for many years, I've been a college basketball guru, more so than the NBA. And as I got older, I transitioned. Probably more like 2013, 2014. But in my college years, I mean, there were 64 teams in the tournament, 68, whatever you want to call it at this point in time. And I could name a player or multiple players on 50 of the 64, I would say. Now I just don't follow it as much. I've become a lot more of an NBA head. But last year was the first year that I ever won a bracket at work. And the reason that I won it is because I copied an expert's bracket.
Oh,
is that a violation? Because go ahead. I'll let you guys talk and now defend myself.
You're talking to 2 teachers talking about copying. They were going to be like, yeah, that's great.
Wow. Yeah, that is I can't think of the only bigger violation I can think of is if you copied Megan's bracket and didn't tell her and entered that into your work bracket.
And won.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm about the money. So why am I going to just throw out there random picks that I don't have when I could use a resource that will help aid me to get the money?
Here's the follow-up. Wait, who was it? Whose did you copy?
I can't give that information out because there's people listening on this pod that participate in the same pool as me. I did it again this year.
Oh, boy.
You ain't got to worry about that. I ain't copying off nobody.
Oh, boy.
Now
We're going to have a conversation once we...
The guy I use is an analytics guy. It's all analytics. So I'm a VORP guy. I'm a VORP guy tonight.
I'm a
Well,
big book guy when it comes to college.
the fact is, we're all about the bag, so that's not an excuse. That's why we enter the damn tournaments.
But then I'm burning money if I just throw my picks out there.
No,
Burning.
you have to pick 63 winners. Like the fact that you couldn't pick one on your own, that's a violation, dude.
I picked one. I took the 4-1 seeds without any advice.
Oh man, I even hate that when people, because I run a pool that regularly gets over 200 entries now, and when I see someone with the 4-1 seeds in the final four, I get so pissed.
Also, for the record,
let me give you the game theory that my guy picks out. And again, I can't give him out because he's also my golf guy for golf picks as well. But the theory is, so he uses 538, which is a analytic website which determines, the likelihood that a team would win the championship or win any specific game. And he takes that number and compares it to the popularity of the pick on ESPN. So, for instance, I'll give you my champions since we're going to discuss our champions. The Houston Cougars have, per 538, a 25% chance of winning the NCAA tournament. That's the number that they've come up with based on their theory. On ESPN, Houston's only being picked about 12% of the time to be the championship team. So the thought process is, especially if you're in larger pools, if you can get the champion that's going to win 25% of the time, but is only being picked 12% of the time, you put yourself at a decisive advantage. And if you're picking the team that is most popular, for instance, Alabama is the most popular pick this current year in the NCAA tournament. Alabama winning doesn't necessarily make you a winning team. You have to hit on so many other games because so many other people have picked Alabama at that point in time. So that's the game theory in what we're doing here.
Yeah, so you just added yourself as a stat nerd.
Listen, I'm just telling you, this guy has finished in the last 3 years, 97th percentile, 98th percentile, 99th percentile. You call me a nerd, I call myself a fundraiser.
I have a little bit of a spoiler. I don't know if spoiler is the right word too, though. Somebody, like, this is maybe going back 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago, I saw an article on this. They did the math behind your typical pool, where the scoring, and Adam, I'm assuming this is your scoring, where the scoring is 1 point for the first round, 2 for the second, 4, 8, 16, 32 for the champion. And with that type of scoring, the only thing that matters is you pick the champion. You can screw up like 90% of the rest of the bracket and it would not matter as long as you have the champion.
But that's assuming a bunch of other people don't have that same champion.
Right. And it's assuming the size and everything else. But if you do not pick the champion, you can't win. You have to pick the champion. And it's the most important part of it.
Now, I'll say this. The picks that this guy put out this year are a little outrageous for me.
Well,
so I'm a little nervous about what I'm going to say on this, but I'm going to give you guys his picks. And if you're not a college basketball guy and you want to go by the numbers and be a Jokic guy like myself,
I think you might be on the UCLA bandwagon this year.
Oh, funny you said that. More on them later on.
Before we get into our actual picks, let's just talk about the beauty of the NCAA tournament. And, we're going to do a segment in segment 3 where we draft our favorite days of the year. And I don't want to put any spoilers, but how good is the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament?
Watch it. Yeah, it's awesome.
More than the day after the Super Bowl, these 2 days need to be a national holiday. These 2 days are the 2 best sports days of the year, hands down, bar none. I'm putting it up there with anything. And you guys know I'm a golf guy. I love me some Masters. I love the Super Bowl. I love the Kentucky Derby. This is the best. This is the best.
There's no feeling in the world like watching that 12-15 tip and winning that game in your bracket and taking the highlighter and highlighting that winner and just holding the dream of a championship winning bracket. And there's no feeling that hurts more than losing a Final Four team the first day of the tournament.
It's the best. It's the best.
I used to take off, I still do actually, every Thursday, Friday of the NCAA tournament. I know you guys are in the education world. It's a little bit
but we have a little bit of freedom to be able nowadays with the technology being what it is. You can snap that bad boy onto these smart screens in the classrooms.
That's also true. But I remember we were in high school and it would be like 1:30, and you go to seventh period, and it would be like, Illinois is down 4, 9 minutes to go, and you'd be like, shit.
Yeah. So and so, can we put the game on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, listen, those first 2 days are something special. And listen, I mean, the art of filling out the bracket is what makes it great. But theoretically, it's probably the worst way to determine the champion in your sport of any major sport, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's objectively the worst way if you're looking for the decidedly the best team in the country. Yeah.
Is it the hardest trophy in sports to win? I have my feelings on it, but I want to see what you guys think about it.
It's the most I don't want to say parody.
I wouldn't say that, but
I don't think it's like the hardest in what aspect, as far as
like at the end of it, when you win, you're like, oh my God, we just went through a gauntlet.
I don't think that's the way I describe it.
So I've always thought, and I'm not a hardcore fan at all of the game, but I've always thought the Stanley Cup was the hardest championship trophy to win because you put so much physicality into it, and every series is best of 7. But the March Madness is up there, though. I mean, you've got, for instance, years when we've had like Butler that have been upset or upset. Can't talk. A team that's upset teams, or George Mason way back in the day when he went to the Final Four. Those teams are underdogs in all these games, and to make it that far, the Illinois Chicagos of the world from recent times, that's tough.
Let me use a better word. Here's the word I would use. It's the most memorable for a team to make that run through that bracket. I don't think that's something you always remember. You'll be able to rattle off those 6 teams that you beat to get to the big dance. I think memorable is probably a better word than tough.
And it's also the only sport or championship tournament where you can lose and still have your team or your school feel like you had a great year. Like when you talk about even the Super Bowl, Eagles were dominant all year, got to the Super Bowl, lost the way we did. I still can't watch that game right now. I'm still in mourning in that game. You have years where, like, I remember back in when we were kids, when Temple went to the Elite Eight, and that was still a memorable, like, I still remember that team. And they still had 3 rounds to go to be able to win a championship. But that team was so awesome. St. Joe's in 04, same thing. Those teams are so memorable and awesome that, like, you can go to a quarterfinal or a semifinal round and be looked at on your campus, your city, your community as still almost equivalent to a champion.
Yeah, it's an achievement for some teams just to make it. It's an achievement to win a game. Look at St. Peter's last year.
Sure.
Those kids are going to go down. Those kids are. They're the historical names in that college's history for the rest of forever.
Sure.
But Chris,
they never go that far again.
Some of those underdogs, though, even though they went far, if we're talking about crowning a champion, they might have knocked some teams out with championship aspirations, but they themselves didn't win a title. I think when you look at the champions year to year, it ends up being one of the top 5 or 6 teams more often than not.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
So for that reason, I don't think it's necessarily the hardest to win.
But I would say the last 7, 8 years, the upsets and the abilities for a 15, a 16, a 14 seed to knock off a powerhouse, those margins have become smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, UMBC, another example, Al, a team that won what? Did they win 2 rounds or 1? I forget.
No, just 1.
No,
they just won the one game against Virginia, right?
Virginia.
They blew out Virginia. It wasn't.
And they won 1 game in the tournament, and they're like the upper echelon of their community forever.
Yeah.
What do you attribute?
Like that's what it can do. Also, every game is neutral site.
Yeah.
You don't have that in other sports.
It is.
What do you attribute the thinning of the I would say the competition and the ability for these lower seeds to compete more? What would you attribute that to?
I think that it was I'm curious to see how it's going to play out now with the NIL situation. I think that college sports probably took a step forward to take 2 steps back, because I don't think these small schools now have a chance.
To do what?
I don't think
with the NIL stuff,
the transfer portal and the NIL. And all, I think now it's going back. We were taking a step towards having more parity, and now with NIL and transfer portals and everything else that's happening, I think that's gone.
Well, that's for the top tier talent, like the elite of the elite. But I think the reason, Adam, that we're seeing more parity is not the right word, but seeing the smaller schools become more competitive is because the talent pool is so vast at the high school level with AAU and with social media and everything else. You strike gold. You bring in a few kids that they gel, they play together for 3 or 4 years. You bring in the right coach. I mean, you got the recipe for an upset. Listen, I'm going to talk a lot about them today. Penn State is led by a whole bunch of just transfers, just guys that came from Bucknell, Siena, Drexel. They come together. They have a coach that makes it work, and now they're in the dance for the first time in 12 years. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of these smaller schools too. Not necessarily from the transfer end, but they're taking guys that they weren't recruited heavily because they were maybe the second or third option on a high school team or an AAU team, so they didn't have the attention. But they're still great players, greater than the second or third option was even 10 years ago on these
teams. Yeah. I think too that one of the negatives though of the portal is that you're having teams that are not household names necessarily. You mentioned like the Drexels of the world and different other schools like that may have a bona fide star, and instead of staying for 4 years, they're not good enough to say that they can go early to the league, but they're good enough to have an Alabama, a Penn State, a Duke, a Kentucky call and say, hey, we'd like to have you now at this point in the game on our squad. Are you willing to make the jump? And now we're risking having super teams. And the only reason I don't think we have super teams in college basketball is because the rule changes of having the ability to go from high school to the G League. I think that is a big thing now where, like, if a guy like Scoot Henderson was playing college basketball right now, he'd be a household name because we would all see on a broad level how good he is. Other guys too. We don't have that anymore. And that's kind of made people have talked about for the last few weeks with college season winding down. Like, we don't have like superstars like we used to. And that's because they're not playing college basketball anymore.
That hurts. That hurts.
Absolutely. So from an NBA perspective, it's a benefit to the kids and to their league and the association. But for the NCAA and college athletics, it is a definite detriment.
I agree with you 100%. I did want to chime in on my question and my thoughts in regards to the difference in 15 seeds, 16 seeds. For me, it's more about the transition of the game, and the game has just become so much more about your guards. And it's not difficult to find guards who can play basketball. They're all over the country. The game in the early 2000s and mid 2000s, if you didn't have size, you were screwed. And these small schools just didn't have the size to hold up against the Dukes, the Carolinas, even some of the Syracuses, the UConns. But now the game's so much about the three-pointer and the guards, and you can find 6'1" guards at every school that can play. So for me, it's about just the way the game has kind of changed to become so much more guard-oriented than it was, 15, 20 years ago when we were in high school and college.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point.
My last question before we get into our brackets, is there anything you guys would change about the tournament?
I have one thing.
Okay.
One thing. The earliest games on Thursday and Friday, I would move up to 10 a.m. Eastern time, because those last games end up going off sometimes at 10:45 at night. And that's rough. I know that the last game is scheduled for like 10:05, but sometimes, the day gets pushed back all day. All the games get pushed back as the day goes on. If you have a couple games with a 10 a.m. start time, I think that can help remedy that situation.
So, and some of the other start times as you go along, I think it may be Sunday of the first weekend. There's a game at 1:30, and there's only one game, and then there's like 5 games at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I think they need to do a better job balancing that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'm taking it back to 64 teams. I don't need these playing games.
I don't even circle them on the bracket.
Nobody
whoever, unless it's a team I think can win a game in that, I guess, are they still calling it the second round?
Yeah,
no,
they squashed that. Yeah. So unless it's a team that can win a first round game, I don't even circle it in my bracket. I just have the other team they're supposed to play move on, to be honest with you.
I'm terrified that they're going to blow this thing up and make it 90 something.
Oh, no question.
Terrified that they're
that's
no question. Now at that point, then it becomes the hardest tournament to win in sports. You got to go do like 8 games.
Yeah,
Yeah, we look at the first round matchup between the 32nd seed. Come on, man. We don't need
Texas Corpus Christi takes on LIU Brooklyn in a play-in.
Let me letting the D2 champion get in and whatnot.
Yes, yeah, it's going to get out of hand.
So let's get into our brackets. And what I want to do is go through each region. I want you to give me the team you have coming out. I want to get you to, if you have one, give me a sleeper in that region, and then give me a first round upset. Okay. Yep. Now I've gone out already and said that my bracket is based on analytics. So I'm giving,
and also based on someone else.
I'm going to be the robot. So you guys are going to have to give the insight in regards to specific players. But let's start at the top left corner of your bracket with the South region. And I'll start because I mentioned my bracket is a little out of whack. And we went analytic style. And I have, talk about a sleeper and a winner of the region. I have the Creighton Blue Jays coming out of the South as the 6th seed. I did do a little reading about them today. Apparently, they were really highly thought of in the preseason this year.
They were, but usually in the Final Four?
I have them in the Final Four. I'm in the championship.
Oh, my God. I'll bet. What do you want to bet on that?
Listen,
what odds do you want for that?
I'll get in my pool and we can compete.
Oh, my God.
But listen, they were a top 10, top 12 team at the beginning of the year. They had a lot of injuries. They're coming in 12-3 in their last 15
No, they are good.
Huh?
I don't know about it. They're good. I don't know if they're that good, but I think that they're a solid team.
Led by Dougie McDermott's pop. Mm-hmm. So I have Creighton, and I'll list them as my sleeper as well, as I don't think I can go with another sleeper through there. So, Chris, who do you have winning the region, and give me a sleeper as well?
So for the South, I'm going chalk. I have Alabama winning the South. One sleeper team I have is I don't know if I want to call them. I have two. I don't know if I'd call them a sleeper, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about Baylor. And I think that Baylor, who's only 2 years removed from a title themselves, I had them going to the Elite Eight and losing to Alabama, but that game can easily go the other way. So I guess if you want to say that maybe I had them as a sleeper, but as far as the upset is concerned, or the sleeper, whatever you want to call it, I would say College of Charleston. I'm a big College of Charleston guy.
I'm with you.
They are now in the A10, and so they're playing a little bit better competition than they were previously. As San Diego State is one of those teams every year that is good, no one ever sees, and then they get to the tournament and they're very average. So I think Charleston is ripe for that 12-5 upset to get that done. And then also, I don't have the balls to pick it, but Furman, I think, can beat Virginia.
People hate Virginia every year.
Well, that's because they
dogged them,
crap the bed every year, except for the year they won. But they've had a bad history, and Furman is. I've watched them actually like twice this year, but that's 2 more times than most people I would imagine. And they're all right.
Where is Furman?
I think it's down. It's in
South Carolina.
It's somewhere down there. I forget exactly where.
I'll Google
it. South Carolina, Seltzer.
I was gonna say, I think it's in one of the Carolinas.
Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina. The Furman Paladins.
Yeah.
I think they're
Paladin.
Yeah. So I think they have a chance to win that game. I have Virginia winning it. I don't have the balls to pick Furman, but that's a game I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
I like Virginia every year because I'm an analytics guy too when it comes to college ball, and I'm not going to give all my my tips away either, Seltzer. But I'm very reliant on analytics when it comes to this. But the only thing with analytics is it goes out the window for the first two games, the first weekend of the games, because anything can happen the first weekend. And I think that's what makes Virginia always such a flashy pick to be upset, because they play that slow, plodding, methodical pace where we saw it happen against UMBC. If they're not hitting shots, they're screwed. They're going to lose. If a team's hitting threes against them, they're going to lose.
And Furman can do that.
They can. With that said, I don't think that Furman has the chops to take out Virginia in the first round. I got Charleston also, Chris, as an upset pick over San Diego State. They were ranked in the top 25 for the first time in school history. They attempt over 33s a game.
Yep.
And they got 5 players that score in double figures. That's all the recipe for disaster against the San Diego State team, that they can't play offense. They never can. They're always a defensive-minded team. My sleeper pick, and I don't know how far I'm going to have them going yet. My brackets are not exactly settled. But Utah State, I think, can go pretty far in this tournament. They're actually favored in the first round. They're the only 10 seed to be favored in their 7-10 matchup in the first round. They're ranked 18th overall in the adjusted ranking for all the teams in the field. They hit almost 40% from three, and they also have 5 players averaging double figures, led by a do-everything guard that they have named Stephen Ashworth. So I'll take the Utah State Aggies. I used to rock a Utah State hat in college because it had a big blue A on it for Albert.
I'm a big fan of.
So
I'm a big fan of, as I've gotten older too, Al. I'm a big fan of getting the hat with my first initial on it, like the Calgary Flame hat.
It's so childish.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
But that's
Utah
my
State went to the Sweet 16 a couple back in a while ago.
I could see them beating Arizona, but at the end of the day, I think Alabama is just too good in this region. They're the class of the region. I have Alabama making it to the Final Four.
So we have 2 Alabamas. We have a Creighton. I didn't mention my first round upsets. I only have 2, and it's based on seed, and I wouldn't even call them major upsets. I have West Virginia as the 9 over Maryland, the 8, and I also have Utah State as the 10 over the 7. But other than that, I'm pretty chalky in the first round at least.
I love Bob Huggins in the tournament.
Oh yeah,
I'm a big Bob Huggins fan.
Maryland stinks. They can't win on the road.
With that said, they'll win by 25 somehow.
Yeah, true. Let's go over to the Midwest. So let's go over to the top right corner. I'll stay going first to be laughed at, but nothing to laugh at here. I have my champions. I mentioned it earlier as far as the analytics go. I have the Houston Cougars coming out of the Midwest region. They are the Vegas favorites to win it, believe it or not. I think they are 5-1. And they are not as popular as I think 3 or 4 teams in the ESPN bracket. So that's why the analytics have them. I have my sleeper team as Iowa State. I have them as the 6th seed getting into the Elite 8 in this region. And as far as upsets go, my biggest upset, I have Drake in the first round over Miami in your 12-5. And other than that, I just have Auburn as the 9 seed winning. And I know that's going to disappoint Al, as his Penn State Nittany Lions are in this region, but we are on the Texas A&M Aggies in the first round.
I also, Seltzer, have Drake in that upset. I actually had them going to the Sweet 16. And I have Pitt. This is my upset bracket for this grouping here. I have Pitt beating Iowa State, beating Mississippi State first, and then beating Iowa State, setting up a matchup with Xavier. Pitt's one of those teams, huh?
You remember when Xavier knocked them off when Pitt was the 1 seed? There was a horrible call at the end of the game. I think that was Brad Wanamaker's team.
Yeah, Pitt's one of those teams. I've actually seen them a couple times recently because I didn't really watch a lot of the college basketball in the very beginning of the year because of the Sixers and things like that. But I've watched a little bit of it from like February on. And Pitt's one of those teams that can bite you. And I think that they definitely – I would say it's a team I'm not really – they're a 6 seed. I think they're beatable. But I will say the big thing out of this bracket, Al, I'm on the train, bro. You know, I've been talking about your boys all year.
Choo-choo.
I never thought I'd say this, but I'm a big Penn State fan this year.
All aboard. All aboard.
Elite 8.
I had them in the Elite 8.
Woo!
I had them losing to Houston in the Elite 8, but they're good. And I think Pickett's an NBA player. And if you have an NBA player on a team in this tournament, you got a shot. And they just play well as a team. They're a really well-ran team, which is why we're going to steal your coach and have him come to North Broad Street and be Temple's coach next year.
No, look, listen. First of all, don't bring me down, okay? Before I even talk about it.
He was going to fight you, and then he was like, shit.
Yeah, that's first of all right? But, all right, Adam, this is the main event for me, okay? I want to be clear about something to the listeners. When I chose to go to Penn State, I had no affiliation with that school whatsoever. I wasn't a Penn State football guy. Adam, I'm with you. I've always been a huge college basketball fan, more so than the NBA. And what killed it for me kind of was COVID. COVID kind of knocked me out of it where I just can't get back into watching games the way I used to. I used to watch top 25 games almost every night. I love college basketball. With that said, when I went to Penn State my freshman year, I said, man, I wish more than anything, we can have a good men's basketball team because I love it so much. And I followed this team through thin, through thick, through light and darkness for the last, 20 years of my life, okay? Penn State, without any bias, has a team that is prime to make a Cinderella run as a 10 seed. And here's why. They're the oldest team in the tournament. They have experience. Even though only one player on the team has been to the big dance, they have experience. They're coached by Michael Shrewsbury, who was a former Matt Painter assistant at Purdue. He has experience. He's been there before, okay? Jalen Pickett, as Chris said, just got selected All-America's second team after not even being on anybody's radar preseason. He has very strong Kemba Walker, Buddy Hield, strap this team to my back vibes, okay?
At the collegiate level, let's be clear about that. At the
100%.
Level, those guys, yeah.
100%. The supporting cast around him are no slouches. We just hit the most threes by a team in Big Ten history in a single season. You got Andrew Funk, local kid from Philly, played at Archbishop Wood, went to Bucknell. You got Cam Winter, who I was a little worried about in the beginning of the season, came from Drexel. He went on to hit 2 huge game winners for us at the end of the season. Seth Lundy, Roman kid, been there 4 years, didn't leave when he could have. Miles Dredd, 3-point specialist. We have players on the court that can knock the three down. We have five guys that can hit the three, okay? It's a small team, but they know how to deal with big men because they had to play that giant schmuck Zach Edey 3 times this year. And if you go back and you watch the tape, they got better and better each time they played him. They're not a terrible defensive.
They took them to the brink the other night.
They almost walked away with the win, down 17, right?
Yep.
They're not a terrible rebounding team for their size. Listen, they remind me a lot of like the LaSalle team that went to the Sweet 16 the one year where they just had guards and quick guys all over the floor. They play what has been called by an opposing coach booty ball. And what he said booty ball was Jalen Pickett will back a guard down into the paint. If the double comes, he kicks it out. If no double comes, he just bodies him up and posts him up. He's been doing it all season long. Yeah. So listen, I'll cut it there. If you went to a college that is in the tournament, you have to pick them to go to at least the Final Four. What are you afraid of? What's the $10 or the $20 in exchange for that glory? So you know where I'm going with this. I have Penn State in the Final Four. And for those of you listening that are in my pool, you will see multiple Ryan brackets because my kids just filled theirs out tonight. And the proud father I am, without any cooing, they all picked Penn State to win it all.
Are you going to be that dad that's going to be like pushing them to go to Penn State from the jump as kids?
Oh, absolutely not. Okay. Not in any way, shape, or form. Go somewhere warm, guys. Go somewhere warm.
Well, I'm glad that somebody topped my Creighton pick for worst Final Four pick as the
dude. I'm with you. I don't know about Final Four because Houston's defense is smothering, and I mean, we as a Temple guy and a fan of the basketball program, we beat Houston this year, but we lost to them twice also, and they are relentless defensively, and they're all like the Toronto Raptors of college basketball. They're all the same dude, and they all are fast and long.
I think Houston is the best team in the tournament.
I agree with that. I think that they, on paper, they probably are. But
I thought they were last year. And then they had the injuries.
Right. I was gonna say they've always had something that just gets in their way, almost like how Gonzaga's always had something that gets in their way somehow too. So, but they're right there, and that's why I had them getting out in the Elite Eight, Penn State, because Houston is so good defensively. Yeah. But I gotta look myself in the mirror sometime, man. I find myself rooting for these guys. I'm like, I don't know who I am anymore. Rooting for the State Penn.
They're a fun.
It's okay to fall in love with a team and their style, even if they have the wrong name on their jerseys.
Fun team to watch. Fun team to watch.
When's their first round game?
Thursday night, 9:55.
Oh, it's gonna be a long night for you.
Tough one. Yep.
Yeah. So let's go to the bottom left, and we'll talk about the East region. I'll continue to open it up. I again have a winner of this region, maybe not be as popular, but I have the 4 seed Tennessee Volunteers coming out of the East. With my 2 sleepers, maybe being more of a sleeper based on their seed and not their name, but I have both Blue Bloods getting to the Sweet 16 in Kentucky and Michigan State, with Kentucky advancing to the Elite Eight. So I have a Kentucky and Tennessee Elite Eight matchup with Tennessee getting to the Final Four.
Well, SEC action
out of the East region. What'd you say?
little SEC action.
Little SEC conference final. Again, in regards to upsets, I don't have many in the first round. I just had the 9 seed FAU advancing over the 8 seed. Other than that, I'm chalky in the first round.
So I'm a little bit. I have not seen Florida Atlantic, but the fact that they're a 9 seed is very intriguing. I'm not picking them because I just know a lot about Memphis, but from being in their conference, so I've seen them a lot. So I'm still taking Memphis, but I don't really have any. I mean, a team I could see making an upset. I have Tennessee still winning this game, but Louisiana is really good. They're actually pretty decent. They have their style of play. They could beat Tennessee, but either way, I have Duke going to the Sweet 16 and Purdue going to the Final Four from that bracket. Edey's dude, he's a man. He is a man. And I'll tell you what else.
So hold on, Chris.
He's gonna get
Before you
exposed.
go any further, if I'm mistaken, you have Alabama, Houston, and Purdue. You're 3 out of 4 1 seeds so far.
Who didn't know? Who's surprised here that Chris is taking all the 1 seeds?
I don't normally do that, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't normally do that.
People
But
on the
I will
podcast
say-
don't know that.
I will say this: Edey is like he's such an intriguing prospect because as in the NBA, I don't know how good he can be because of how slow and just methodical he is. He doesn't really play to the style of what's successful in the NBA, but at the college level, he's dominant. At the and he has a little hook shot that's tough. That's
Chris.
7'4" hook shot. That's unguardable.
Chris, we're on the record of saying that like Dikembe Mutombo and like
No, that's what I'm
John
saying.
Stockton couldn't play in the league, but Zach Edey can play in the league.
I didn't say that. I said I don't think his style is conducive to be successful in the NBA, but at the college level, he is dominant. So
Here's his problem. He can't play both ways in the crunch. Like
He don't move.
it just almost cost them the Big Ten title against Penn State because Painter had to start taking him out and playing offense for defense because he couldn't trust him on the floor, because he couldn't run out and guard the 3-point shot. And then you have all these Purdue kids that they don't really have a great team around him, and they couldn't handle the pressure of breaking the trap, the full court trap. That team has holes, man. I know they got a lot of really impressive wins, but I think the tape is out on how to beat them because that kid, he's going to get his points and his rebounds in the first half and probably in the first like 5 or 10 minutes of the second half. But I don't know how you can play him against some of those long, athletic, fast kids if it's a 5-point game, 4-point game down the stretch.
I think that I've seen him a couple times this year, and Sunday was one of them where I watched him get in the post and just park. Like he's not really, like once he's there, he's there. If you can't get it to him, you ain't gonna get it to him. But when he gets it,
did you see the clip of him in the paint for 17 seconds?
That's what I'm saying.
I did
When
see
he
that.
gets there, he parks. He posts up and sets up shop.
Well,
I did see that.
And that's why he can't be that's why I don't think he can be successful in the NBA or at the next level in general because of that. He's not, if he was 7'4" and could move at that size, he'd be a top 5 pick. But he can't.
Al,
And that's the problem, unfortunately, for him.
to your point, and what I was saying earlier in regards to the way the game has changed, is a guy like him 15 years ago wouldn't have had that problem with having to step out on the perimeter and guard 5 out because teams weren't doing that.
right.
And he definitely would have been
Right.
lottery pick 15 years ago.
But the college game, the tournament has always been guard driven and wing driven. It's never been a big man game come tournament time. And it still isn't. So I hate that it seems that a lot of the talking heads have this as their upset too. I hate that. But when I saw this bracket come out, I'm all over Memphis beating Purdue in the second round. Memphis is quick, they're athletic, they're going to make things really tough for that Purdue team. So that's my big upset in the East. And you know, what scares me about the East is, Adam, you said it earlier. There's so many blue bloods in this bracket, and you just never know what you're going to get from them. I mean, you got a Michigan State team that honestly isn't too bad. And it just seems like whenever you forget about Tom Izzo and Michigan State, that's when they do their work. Like the 1 year they were a 2 seed and they were out in the first round, right? In 2016. And then as a 7 seed, the year before that, they make it to the Final Four. So Michigan State scares me just for that reason alone. I think Tom Izzo craves, that setting. Out of the East, though, when all said and done, the smoke clears. I have Marquette right now. We'll see if it ends up remaining that way, but they get to play in New York. I think that's big for them, getting to play in Madison Square Garden if they make it to the Sweet 16.
I think that in this bracket, in this portion of the bracket in the East, maybe the most underrated team in this tournament is Marquette. I feel like they're not, I mean, for being a 2 seed, I feel like they're not as talked about as much as they probably should be. But I also feel like the most disrespected team is Purdue. I think Purdue has a lot of Eagles vibes. I think that they're a team that can get there. And because of Edey, and he's a polarizing guy, a lot of people are picking against them. I think that I disagree. I think Purdue's a nice squad.
I think
they can get there.
I love the difference of opinion here. Chris is very bullish on Edey, and Al's bearish.
I'm bullish on him in college.
No. So I mean for the tournament. I'm not talking about the future.
I'm out on him. Just wait. If Memphis wins that first round game, they're going to run circles around this kid.
All right. We will see. So who do you guys have coming out again? I have Marquette for Al, and then I have the 1 seed Purdue for Chris.
Yeah.
And Tennessee for myself.
I do love Tennessee. I might when I'm done, Tennessee might be my pick too, Adam. I like Tennessee a lot.
Well,
Watch the Raging Cajuns, though.
These are the official picks.
Well, the official pick for me tonight is Marquette and Memphis.
Marquette and Memphis. I got you.
Those Raging Cajuns.
You have Memphis in the elite.
No. I'm just saying over Purdue, which Chris and I might have to put we might have a little skin in this game, so to speak.
Love to hear that. So let's go over to the West in the bottom right. I have the Gonzaga Bulldogs finally. Well, I don't want to say finally getting over the hump because they've been to the Final Four before, but I have them going to the Final Four over the UConn Huskies in the 3-4 matchup in the Elite Eight. So that's where I'm at in regards to upsets or sleeper teams. I have VCU over St. Mary's in the first round. I'm also going to go with Boise State over Northwestern in the first round. So that makes my Final Four Houston, Gonzaga, Creighton, and Tennessee. What do you guys got?
I think that this is the hell bracket. This is the tough one. Every year, there seems to be a region that just stacks up with juggernauts. You have Kansas and UCLA, who are obvious title contenders. You have a Gonzaga team who, just like I talked about with Tom Izzo, Mark Few loves being kind of, out of the spotlight, being able to sneak up from behind on some of these teams as a 3 seed. UConn is just a deadly 4 seed. I mean, that's a team that you don't want to see. And St. Mary's is a really good 5 seed.
St. Mary's is good.
Yeah, but, when this came out, and I saw this, I hated it because if UConn was in, we just talked about the East. If UConn was in the East, that's an easy selection for me to come out of that region. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull the trigger on them over Kansas. As of right now, I have UCLA over Kansas, and I only have 2 upsets in the first round: Boise State over Northwestern, and then I have the play-in winner over TCU.
Yeah, so like I said, I think St. Mary's is really good. I have them going to the Sweet 16, so beating VCU and beating UConn. I mentioned earlier about UCLA. I have UCLA coming out of this bracket, winning this region, beating Kansas. I think UCLA is one of those schools that I think it's their time. I think that this is going to get them back on the. I know that they had gotten deep a while back. I think that I got a hunch that they're going to make a run here this year. I could see a little bit of West Coast bias. We don't really see them all that much over our way here in the East Coast, but I think them against Gonzaga in the Sweet 16 is going to be a really good game. And I think Kansas St. Mary's in that Sweet 16 is going to be a really good game. But I have Kansas UCLA making it out, playing in the Elite Eight, and then having UCLA in the Final Four as a 2 seed.
In
the Final Four.
Going crazy. Listen, the depending on whose analytics you trust the most and you go by, UCLA is second overall of all teams in the nation, and they're the best defensive team in the nation. Yeah. And this bracket has 4 of the top 10. UConn's 4, Gonzaga's 8, Kansas is 9. It's loaded.
Yeah, it's murderer's row for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough region. So Al, who did you have coming out? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I have UCLA over Kansas.
So we have 2 UCLAs and we have a Gonzaga. So why don't you guys rattle off your Final Four and then your champion as well?
I'll start. I have Alabama beating Marquette. I have Penn State beating UCLA. And I have Penn State winning it all, baby. We are.
Credibilities
I
shot.
I can't follow that up. I have I have Houston losing to UCLA in the Final Four, and then I have on the other side I have the Fighting Eddies beating Alabama to make a Purdue UCLA championship, and I have the Bruins winning it all. I have the John Wooden being happy and celebrating wherever he is for the Bruins. I think they're going to win another national championship this year.
So we have a UCLA, a Houston, and a Penn State.
Ooh, diversity there. That's a wide array of squads.
It's really sad that I should have seen it coming. Is what the tough part is.
No balls, no babies,
say,
Adam.
Okay. I just want to say two quick things. One is we're talking about a lot of Penn State. I got to put Temple out there. Unfortunately, we have to get a new coach because Aaron McKee didn't quite get the job done after 4 years. He failed to win a conference tournament game, let alone get the NCAA tournament. So we're on the search. There's a guy on the main line that I would love to bring back and bring another program back to prominence on North Broad Street. And that
you're selling out all over the map tonight between the Penn State fandom, the Villanova fandom.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to, you know what I mean, get over these biases and get, about that bag, you know what I mean? But I would love to see Jay Wright. I know that's not gonna happen. But Penn State's coach is out there. Another guy is
he's not. No, he's not. That's misinformation.
If Penn State wins the national title, that guy's so gone.
Another guy that's out there is oh man, I'm going blank on his name. The Colgate coach who Matt Langle. Matt Langle is out there. He apparently he's a local guy from South Jersey, and he's taken that team. I mean, that team has been really good for the last few years since he's been their head coach. I don't know if he's good enough. I'm not sure about his recruiting style, if he's good enough to get some recruits back to North Broad Street. But those are the three that I've heard a lot about recently. Not to scare Al, but you never know. I don't even know, to be honest with you. I struggle because Penn State is a better program as far as especially right now, and it's up and coming. But it matters if this guy wants to coach in a bigger market.
Right.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not scared of Temple. His name is being linked to Notre Dame. That scares me. Right. And that's a nightmare situation for me as a guy that loves Penn State and hates Notre Dame. But you're right. It's Penn State is obviously not a basketball school. But what kills me is that we have the money, we have the resources, get these kids a nice facility, get these kids a nice arena to play in. Why can Alabama do it and Penn State not do it? I don't understand that.
I don't know if they do this or not, but for me, at least, if I was a 17, 16-year-old kid, you take me to a whiteout at Penn State, even if it's like as a whiteout football game, and I could see that passion and that environment. It's hard to say.
That passion's not for you. You're a 5-star kid who's used to getting your ass kissed everywhere you go. You go watch it happen to the football players, and then you go play across the street in the arena, and that place has 2,000 people there when you're used to 2,000 people at your high school games.
Right.
But a 5-star recruit or a top 10 recruit on ESPN 300, things like that, that gets those people in those seats in Bryce Jordan.
Not at Penn State, because I watched Tony Cargo as a 5-star recruit, and it still didn't really move the needle. The one thing that they did recently change, and I've been pining for years, and I'll wrap this up. On television, when you watch a Penn State home game, the student section used to be on the same side as the camera, so you would just see all the old people in scattered seats, and it looked like nobody was there. Now they finally moved it to the TV side. So even though there's only probably a couple thousand kids, it looks like, at least on TV, it looks like the place is filled. I think that makes a big difference.
No, absolutely. And they have to also compete with recruiting against Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan
100%.
State, Purdue now at this
Even the
point.
Philly schools.
Philly school, right? Exactly. So
And
that's tough.
it's hard for. Now, I was going to make the point of geographically where it is. It's just not really a basketball area, central Pennsylvania, but neither is Alabama.
Right. We have NIL money now, dude.
Right.
Spend the back.
And the other thing I wanted to say too was off that path, but more locally, shout out to, I know Al's a big girls basketball fan. Shout out to the Perkiomen Valley Lady Vikings, who are playing or 28-1, playing tonight actually in the second round of the state championship against our Archbishop Carroll Lady Patriots.
Oh, all right.
Who are you rooting for?
Well, PV's 28-1 and Carroll's I think I saw they were like 500. So
Carroll's not very good this year.
PV girls are they're legit. They're blowing chicks out. So
and we would be remiss if we didn't mention that our own Chris Guest filled out a perfect women's bracket.
Yes, thank you for recognizing that. I was actually going to mention that earlier. I forgot to go back to that.
Didn't you just pick all the favorites?
I think it was 2012 at work. I was bored. I did two brackets, a man and a woman bracket. Woman bracket was perfect. I will die on that hill forever.
So that's such a clouded. Dude,
all you got to do is go chalk, especially 11 years ago in college women's basketball. Nobody beat anybody that was upset.
Chris, you didn't get anything from Warren Buffett for that one, but you might have went to
I didn't put it in.
Country Buffet that night and celebrated.
No, that's like 6 people saw that bracket. It's kind of like when we talked about a few weeks ago. If you could do something great and nobody was there to see it, if it was worth doing it. That's kind of how I felt about that.
How great was it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we're in the forest, the tree falls. You know what I mean?
Were you tracking it the entire way, or did you like check it at the end?
No, I checked it at the end.
And were you like, oh,
yeah, I was like, yo, your boy got the perfect John. But yeah, that was my little claim to fame, even though no one else will believe me. But it's cool. Me and the big man upstairs know what happened.
So, in closing, I don't want to give any spoilers to our next segment, but I'm going to put my draft title on the line, undefeated.
Title of draft?
Wait, what?
What title are we talking about?
What, are you talking about draft beers? What are you talking about?
Next segment, undefeated in drafts.
You're okay. Subjective.
We're going to go objective. Analytics guy.
You know why? Because you keep setting up the damn order so that you get the last pick. That's the money spot. Think I haven't noticed that?
I don't think that's true.
You keep throwing me in that one spot. It's not the place to be.
Let's do the draft.
The outside works on the rail, off the rails.
I'm doing a draft order right now. Hold on, randomize it right now. 1.
Yeah, randomize it. We can't see anything but your
There you go. Perfect. Chris is 1. I'm 2. You're 3.
Let's go.
Right where you want it. But without spoilers, we are going to draft the best days of the year. So we will have a little more detail in 1 minute. We'll be right back.
Hold on.
Welcome back to segment 3. This was an idea that was spurred upon as March hit. You know, there were a lot of goodness as winter kind of closes, and we were talking about the best days of the year, and we decided it would be great to put it in a draft. So just as a point of reference, it doesn't necessarily have to be holidays like Christmas or Thanksgiving or Halloween. It could be something as simple as, I'm not going to steal anybody's draft picks here, and if it is, you're probably not going to win the draft. But you could say something like the first day of winter. That could be one of your selections.
I'm just kidding. It's been revealed, fans.
So again, it's your favorite days that come of the year. It doesn't necessarily, we debated whether or not it has to be recurring, but we decided it doesn't have to be. But I think a lot of our choices will end up being. And if you were with us in segment 2, we picked the draft order. It's going to be Chris at 1. It's going to be me at 2. And it's going to be Al at 3 since he cried about it for so long.
Get out of here, dude. Any excuse you want to make.
Chris, why don't you lead us off with your first pick and your favorite day of the year?
All right. So I went chalk last segment a lot for the March Madness. So I'm going to keep that. And I'm going to go chalk with my number one pick of being, especially after this year, Super Bowl Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday, the hype, especially when your team is in it, there's nothing like it. The hype that you have, the anticipation, thinking about this time tomorrow, we could be celebrating, we could be champions, or we could be dealing with the agony of defeat. And you have the planning of what goes on with that day. If you're having a party, you're getting things together. It's an exciting time. Looking forward to hanging out with your friends, having some sips, some grandpa's cough syrup. You know what I mean? To me, that's when everything is clicking. Super Bowl Sunday can't beat it.
That day,
I didn't have it on my list.
It's so low on the list, though. If your team's not in it, it's just another game.
See, maybe I missed a football head. I don't know, but I love Super Bowl Sunday. That's easy.
I thought about it. I just didn't end up getting there.
How many did you put on your draft board?
I had like 15 on here. I always try
15 days that were better than Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I have 38.
No, no, damn 38.
I got April 17th.
Yeah, tax day.
Yeah. Tax day.
No, dude, I did not have Super Bowl Sunday, and it never even crossed my mind.
Wow, that's insane. Okay, well, I guess I could have waited for it.
Yeah, you could have.
You could have.
And I think I could wait for my first pick, but I'm going to go with what is my favorite day of the entire year, and I have the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend as my favorite day of the year, and let me tell you why. Because as you grow up, this day holds so many different meanings. As a kid, it's basically the end of school. Memorial Day weekend, you're shutting it down. June, you're watching a bunch of movies. That weekend signifies the end of school. As you move into your late college teens, into your early 20s, you're opening your shore house. You're going down to Sea Isle. You're going to Wildwood. You're going to be partying all summer with your buddies. The shore house is open. It's a beautiful thing. And as we've gotten even further down the line, to me, it signifies the beginning of golf season. The weather is turned. It's time for summer. Golf is in full bloom. If you're a member at a club, the pool's opening for the first time. You got a pool party. Your kids are out there. You're grilling burgers. You're grilling dogs. And the reason it's that Saturday instead of that Monday is obviously because you get the next day off. And so Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, the best day of the entire year.
I have a question. Because actually pretty high on my list is the Friday before Memorial Day.
That's still available?
Is that
it's available?
It's
available.
Well, I mean, I could go other ways, but I was just wondering if that was still a thing, if I could still use that, or if that was going to be piggyback.
Yeah. And guess what, Chris? It's going to be available for the rest of the draft. So you might want to just save it to the last pick.
You don't have that either, Al?
Friday people are working. Friday people are working.
Here's why. Wait, Memorial Day weekend for all throughout my 20s was my favorite holiday of the year because basically everything you just said, Adam. The problem for me is this is a weekend. It's not just a one-day thing where I'm like, that's the one day that I look forward to the most of the weekend. I would argue that for me in my 20s, it was the Thursday because you would get off from work Thursday and head down to the shore like lickety split. Like you couldn't wait to get down.
That's kind of that was my logic with the Friday. Yeah. It's like, it's about to be on. Like we just got to work. I'm about to go to wherever, get what I got to get. And it's full speed ahead. Saturday, you're already kind of like.
Not everybody has off. That's why I went with Saturday.
Okay.
Everybody's got off.
Okay, fair enough.
The weekend has begun.
I'm gonna go around that day. I'll just kind of put that all into the conversation with your pick. I'm not gonna. I won't take that.
That's a top, off the top of my head, probably a top 3 weekends of the year. I can't place one of the days specifically.
Yeah, it's the best weekend of the year, I think.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah, probably is. No, can't be. I got others. All right. I'm going to stick with the theme of the pod. The best sports day of the year is the first day of the March Madness tournament. There is absolutely nothing like it. It is nonstop excitement from 12 in the afternoon until 12 midnight. So you have 12 hours of nothing but basketball. 16 games that get played. 16? No, 32? How many games get played the first day?
Yeah,
16.
16,
right?
16 days. 16 days.
And Adam, you talked about it earlier, but it's just like especially nowadays with the internet being in the palm of our hands. Oh my, did you see so-and-so's down 2 with 5 seconds left? So-and-so hit a buzzer beater to win it and send it into, or just send it into overtime. So-and-so just got upset. Like it's just absolute chaos for that 12 hours. And it doesn't matter if you're an absolute college basketball junkie or if you are just like the wife of a guy who likes sports, because everyone fills a bracket out. Everyone fills a box pull out. Everyone does something related to the tournament, and you're unproductive for that day because you are just glued to the results of these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids playing a sport.
The True
so I don't have
TV
that on my
ratings
top 10.
bonanza. True TV goes ham that day.
Oh yeah.
I had that as number 2. That was number 2 on my list.
Yeah, I don't
It's a
know.
great day.
I used to, but I because of I think Al, I think it was you earlier that said about COVID with college basketball. For me, that it's kind of taking a toll for me, and also the Sixers being good, following the NBA a lot more than I used to. It's a great day though, don't get me wrong, but imagine just for a second, if we were 3 scouts for a franchise and our draft boards were just this much all over the place from each other. Like I got a guy number 1 Bonafide. You're like, I don't even have him in my lottery. So like I don't even have him in my top 20. I don't know what this guy is. Can you imagine?
That's why that job is easier than our job, I think, because in that job, you could be like Adam and you could just like read a couple of articles that some experts on ESPN wrote and just say that they were your own thoughts.
Yeah, we don't even know if Seltzer even really made this list.
I hate Memorial Day weekend, actually.
No one's running the VORP on best days of the year.
Yeah, I would think VORP would be a Christmas fan.
A what?
I think would think VORP would be a Christmas fan for a top day.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
All right, bookends. What do you got?
All right, I'm gonna try to make an objective pick, even though there's a couple days that like I just really want to take because I love them so much.
Dude, take them. That's what we're doing.
No. Because I'm out to win. What's this? Will be my 5th win? 5th, 6th win? So
we've all won 6.
It doesn't count as a win if you just beat Chris. That doesn't count as a win.
I'm going to go ahead and
you would have won all legit if you didn't pick that changes pick. I'm so mad about
not keep giving me shit for taking changes. Like, is that going to be it for the rest of the history of this pod? Every time
that was Sam Bowie. That's what killed it.
Unbelievable. Just an unbelievably sound pick. All right. I will go ahead and take, because it's something that we've all experienced so far in our lives, and I'll take the wedding day as one of the best days of the year. Me personally. What? Did your wedding day suck?
I'll let you finish.
For me personally, my wedding day from start to finish was probably perfect. There was rain in the forecast. It did not rain. It was sunny.
Well, it's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Well, in Delco, is it?
Especially in Delco.
So I'll take you back to March 27, 2015. Okay. It was we were lucky and blessed enough to be surrounded by over 200 of our closest family and friends at the ceremony and reception, and just a perfectly planned and laid out party from start to finish for us, where we got to see everybody we wanted to. We talked to everybody we wanted to. The food was fine. It was great. It was everything we wanted it to be. Our guests all said they had a blast. The band that we got played. They told us when we met them, they said, hey, write down like 5 or 6 must-have songs. We'll try to play 3 of them. I wrote down a list of probably 20 songs. They played every song. They played every single song I put on the list. Our entrance song was a version of a Kanye West song that I don't even want to say the title of. We'll talk about it after the pod is over. They learned that Jesse and the Ripper song.
I would say I remember that more.
They closed with Africa. Toto, big party song for like my friend group.
Big Toto fan.
Guys, it just was. I believe that if the day goes the way you plan it, I know it doesn't for everybody. It was the perfect. It's the day that I would relive over and over and over again for the rest of my life if I could.
So the reason I had that reaction was I agree. And I've said this before to you and other people. Your wedding was the best wedding I've ever been to, as far as fun, being around people that I legitimately, truly grew up with and had been so close to for a long time. And the atmosphere was great. No doubt about it. But I thought we had already said we weren't putting those days in this draft.
I thought we were putting like one-off events. That was the whole
Yeah.
thing of like not a recurring day.
I think we agreed before we said on that we could.
I thought we were saying birthdays,
recurring.
anniversaries. What I thought that was all out.
No, I said yes to that, but I said if you
yes.
pick anniversary, you're going to lose because no one's going to put their anniversary.
Right.
Listen,
Man, now I feel
your
like an
wedding
asshole.
is always special. And when I say yours, I mean individually.
Right.
Because you're at a party and you turn around and everybody is there for you and you know everybody. That's what makes it different from every other wedding that you attend, is that you just know every single person there. And that's what makes it just an awesome, awesome day.
You only have 2 days like that in your life, and you're not at the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, you're there, but you're not.
Guess it's going to take funeral in the fourth. But
no, but I all jokes aside, I had those. That's your logic is great, Al. I had that pick as shit. I almost put that in my list for your wedding. Actually, I
appreciate that. It was a reunion though, like you were saying.
It was
my personal one because of all the friend groups that were there that hadn't been together in such a long time.
Yeah, no, it was great. But I just weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, all that kind of stuff. I just put into a whole different bracket personally. So
okay,
off the bat, I could say I'm not having any of that on mine. Don't mean that I'm right or wrong, but that's where I was just coming from in the beginning. I thought that was kind of like its own thing. But you're 100% justified with your pick because that was a great time.
Adam, what else were you going to say about weddings? What were you going to add?
No, I was just going to say that the only asterisk I have on my wedding is I took all the groomsmen, including Chris, out to golf that morning, and I played the worst round of golf of my entire life. So it just tarnished the whole day. I feel bad for Megan that I was so upset.
Yeah, by the 13th hole, I was ready to go. But that was fun too, though. That was fun. I mean, look, we've all been blessed to have really good days for our weddings and things like that. It was great times, and it fit exactly what we wanted it to be. Al, you said it perfectly. Like planning it the right way. Sarah and I were a lot more quiet, introverted kind of folks. So like we wanted to do a small wedding, which we did, and it paid off. And Seltzer, your guys' wedding was pretty substantial too, and that was an awesome time. So we all were blessed to have great weddings under our belt, which is great always.
The irony is Al could not come to my wedding because he was in another person's wedding. I couldn't go to Chris's wedding because I was in somebody else's wedding, also on the same day. How about that for some idiosyncrasies?
Well, yeah. It's a good vocab word there.
Yeah, I was a bust out right there. All right, so it comes back to me for the second pick, and I'm stealing one from right out from up underneath both of you, and you just let it slip, especially given your occupation.
Come on, don't pick my pick.
The last day of school.
Come
on, man. You should have taken it in the first round.
I was about to pick it. That was my next pick.
No feeling like the last day of school, no matter what age you are, but specifically from like 6th grade through college, when you know you have the entire summer to play with your friends, do what you want to do. Like there's no feeling like taking that final test and walking out. And I was specifically talking with Megan last night. You remember the feeling when you finished your final test in college and it was just like you walked out and you were like, it's over.
Yeah,
I have no more tests to take. It's all done. There's no feeling like the last day of school.
I will say this, Seltzer, and that was going to be my pick. And Al, you know this very well. This year is going to be my first last day of school as a teacher. And it's going to it's the most anticipated day for me that I think I may have ever had. And I'm not even, it's the one profession I always say that no matter what everybody's experiencing, because we've all, 99% of us at least, have been in school. We all know how it is to be in school from September or August until June. And the reward that day comes with as a student is awesome. I think it's even bigger as a teacher.
Yeah.
Al, what would you say to that?
Yeah, you're getting to reset. Like, yeah, it's you're crossing the finish line. Like you've gotten through it again.
Because you do even more work as a teacher than you do as a student.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah,
You're doing all the work that the kids are doing times 24, or however many
exactly
kids in a class. One of my favorite moments every year is getting in my car right when 3:05 hits and just blasting Alice Cooper all the way home. Every year I do it. Adam, I do want to say this. This is 100% a surefire winner pick. 100%. The only thing that I think can be seen as a drawback to it or negative about it is when you get older and your role changes in life and you're somebody with, let's say, like 4 kids in school, and now it's the last day of school and all your damn kids are home for the whole summer.
But no, my pick is specifically for the person in school.
All right. Okay.
That's my thing. And listen, I'm going to argue against, again, I'm not a teacher, so it's going to be hard for me to fight this. But I think, again, from Al's perspective as a teacher, your last day of school, you still have to worry about your kids. When you're in from, again, my specific, like from 6th grade through college, you're going out and there's just 3 months of freedom. It's all in front of you.
I think that's the best day, hands down, when you're a kid.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, all right, back to Chris here for 2.
Yeah, so I'm gonna wet the bed now because that was my next. That was my
as teachers, you guys screwed that up.
I didn't think you were gonna pick that high. All right, I'm gonna go with another chalk situation probably, and you'll probably hate on it, and somehow not have it on your boards. But I'm a big July 4th guy. Yeah, love the 4th of July. I love the fireworks. I love the barbecues. I love that it's summertime. I love that it's hot. I love you go to the shore. People do different things, parades, especially if you have young kids in the house, whatever. They like to do the parade thing, whatever, like that. I know when I was a kid, I liked the good 4th of July parade when I was younger. Not as much anymore, but it's still one of those things that you do on that day. So like I said, I'm a big July 4th fan. For me, that day is after that day, I'm ready for football and I'm ready for the fall. That's to me is actually the last day that I care about in the summertime. But again, that was before my career change. Now that I'm in a different situation, I might feel a little bit different this year. We'll see. But I'm not a huge summer fan, even though I'm a summer birthday. But I love what the summer represents as far as time off and things like that. But July 4th, for a lot of different reasons, for me is an awesome day. Look forward to it every year. So that's my second pick.
There's one big issue with 4th of July is you don't know what day it's going to end up on. That's the big issue.
That's true.
You get a Wednesday 4th of July and you're stuck in the middle. Tough. That's what I had it on my list, but it was lower just for that reason.
I got you. And for years, that was what I went through is when I was working in corporate America. Like, you don't have a summer vacation, so you have those days are just days. They're just vacation days or days off, whatever they are at that point for you. Each person at that point in time. But also it's a big movie day. Big blockbuster movie day for July 4th, that weekend, if it's a weekend that it falls on. So obviously being a big movie guy myself, I look forward to that aspect of it as well. So that for me, that's my second favorite.
All right.
It's really not truly my second favorite, but based on this draft, the way it's unfolding, that's my second pick.
All right, you're up again.
All right. Next one would be NFL opening weekend. First week of the NFL season, a huge day for me. I love, obviously we all love the NFL, but as a 7-time, even though Al hates on me, 7-time fantasy football champion, it is the start of a awesome 4-month period, 4.5-month period of just, it makes from September to Christmas go by so fast because of the NFL, and it all starts on that day. And there's nothing better. I would argue in sports, maybe even more so than the NCAA tournament, in my opinion, that first day of the NFL season.
Okay, wait. You said NFL opening weekend.
That's Sunday, not the Thursday game.
Oh, so Sunday.
The Sunday game. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
That I had that pick higher than the Super Bowl. I had that on my list. That's to me, you have all your fantasy football drafts, you have all the anticipation moving forward, and it just comes to a head that Sunday. And the overreactions are always hilarious in regards to what you see on week one. So I'm okay with that pick.
Yeah.
All right, to me. So this one's going to be a little bit of a niche pick for me here. And I'm okay with it because my first two picks basically solidified the win for me, I would say. But for me, I'm a big golf trip guy. And when you take 8, 9, 10 guys on a golf trip, the first morning that you're going to play golf is a fantastic day. You wake up, you drive to the golf course, you have an early morning tee time. Maybe you're playing 36 that day. Everybody's on the range. The dew is coming up from the grass. And you're just thinking to yourself, I have 3 or 4 days of golf, beer, gambling, and eating food. And it is just a fantastic feeling of that first day. So sometimes, again, there's been trips I've gone on where I've traveled down, we play around that day, and then we go to bed. And that's not the day I'm picking. I'm not picking the travel day. I'm talking about the first morning of golf that follows the trip is what I'm picking in this moment, because that's the best day of the buddies golf trip.
You're not playing up to the audience, though. Jen Corcoran doesn't know anything about a golf trip. She's not going to be voting for that.
But she has
my black ass can't relate.
She can understand the significance of it.
Subjective pick,
Jackson. Not a relatable pick. Not a relatable pick.
It's a niche pick. It's a niche pick. It doesn't matter.
You don't know the idiosyncrasies of our audience.
As the draft champion, it's clear that I do.
I don't know about that. Listen,
you put your wedding day on there. You act like there's people who haven't gone to your wedding that are
no, not my wedding day. Your wedding day. Your wedding day.
The people that aren't married. There's plenty of listeners that aren't married.
Wedding. A lot of single folks out here.
Yeah.
Not my listeners. My listeners are about to appreciate my next pick too.
Uh-oh.
But Adam, you're right. You're right. It's a great day.
It's a great day.
You can't put it over though. All right, I'm gonna bust it out now because now I'm pissed. All right, as guest once said during one of these drafts. Now I'm pissed. Okay, so I'm gonna just knock it out. The next best, probably the best day of your life. This is probably the best day of your life. Okay? Is the birth of your first child.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
that's the best day objectively of your life. And if you haven't yet experienced it, there's no way that you can ask any parent in the world to describe to you the feeling that you're going to feel and what it's going to be like. And there is just no way to put it into words. There's no other day on the calendar year ever where someone just literally cannot describe it to you because that's how great it is.
I don't know. There was a day in high school that y'all had that was pretty much like that.
What?
Kairos.
Yeah.
I don't know. Guess you just can't explain it.
No spoilers.
Was that on your list?
Third day Kairos.
Casey and I got into a big Kairos chat.
Listen to Kairos out.
One day in the car.
CD somewhere.
Wait, we were driving and we were texting people. Seltzer, do you remember what the 4 days the slogans were?
No idea, dude. I was not a Kairos guy. I went.
Yeah.
It was whatever.
You were like the team leader, weren't you?
False. I never was a leader.
Yeah, that was trippy. That trip.
It was live the fourth, but do you remember what the others were?
No, I don't. Pray the third, pray the second.
No, I think it was like trust the third or trust the something.
Trust the process.
We figured them out between us and our friends, but you guys are you're sidetracking me. It's the only way you have a chance to win this draft. The birth of your first child is.
But I have that again as like a whole different category. Like that's a whole different thing. Like that's.
But how's that any different?
That transcends all this.
How's that any different from the first morning of a golf trip?
Because you're bringing in a life to a world,
and it's a great day.
It's a whole different transcendent time.
Here, I don't make the rules, Chris. The rules is the rules. All right, that's a great day. It is probably the greatest day.
That's why I wouldn't even. It's above these days.
Well, there you go. Drop that beat.
There you go, folks. Wrap this up.
We only got 3 rounds out of this one, guys. That's all we needed.
Shut it down.
Birth of your child. Last pick of the third
And
round.
I even made it specific. I mean, I love my girls, but birth of your first child, because it's taking the Matrix pill. You'll never go through that specific experience again.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
And I'll as someone obviously hasn't had children yet, but from what I understand, it's like from what I've heard from multiple people, you instantly feel second in your life,
Yep.
like instant.
Yep.
I think the asterisk on this pick is Chris, is he's taking something from us that we can't really speak to. That's the asterisk on it.
It's like the GIF with the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Chris, I said that it's you instantly feel a love for that you've never felt before. Not we're taking it into now some feelings here on the pod. So
yeah, man.
But
men got to share their feelings. We share feelings tonight.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, so who is it, your turn, Seltzer, or am I up?
No, Al's still up for one more.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay. So I've went sports, I've went personal life. Now I'm gonna go, okay. Is there a worst day in the year than that day in November when daylight savings comes and we got to turn those damn clocks back and it's dark at like 4:45 at night? Is there a worse day? Is there more of a bummer day than that day?
It's a horrible day. It's a horrible day.
Guys, my pick is the first day of the spring daylight savings.
You know what's funny?
That was my next pick.
Fantastic. We move ahead. All of a sudden, it's like new life. You're reinvigorated because it's 7:00 and there's still daylight outside. It is just a fantastic feeling to be able to get your life back past 5:00.
But I will say we got to go through the growing pains of each season of having it be like still pretty dark in the morning.
Right.
A little bit longer.
It's worth it, though.
At first.
It's totally worth it, Chris.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
It's actually a reason why I'm a proponent of keeping daylight savings. I know people want to pass a law to just eradicate it.
We gotta get rid of it.
I don't want 9 a.m. darkness. Like I like the shift.
So it's supposed to. It's supposed
you just
to.
said
It's the first day is the worst day of the year when it's 4:30 and it's dark. That's the worst. But you get used to that over the course of the winter months, and then it just makes that spring day in March all the more better when we finally push them back.
So we're doing the fall back this year, and then after that, we're never doing it again.
No, they didn't ratify it.
They didn't
pass it.
I thought it did get passed.
No. This was supposed to be the end of it right now.
I thought it was fall 23 was the end.
No, it was supposed to be spring 23.
Oh, I was going to say
they've done this multiple times over the decades where the House will pass it or the Senate will pass it, and then like just one or the other just never passes it, or the president just never signs it into law.
Yeah, can't even figure out a freaking season.
I
would say
they did reintroduce it, I think, the other day.
Yeah, I knew I heard something else about it. If they bring it, if it works whenever, this year or whenever it is, and the fallback is the last one, because what I understand is that the fallback would be, whether it's this year or whenever they pass it, would be the one that they would stick with.
No, it's going to stick it this time.
No, they would stick it with this. Yeah, where it's lighter later.
This was supposed to be the end, right?
Well, that's what I want. I want.
That's what it would be.
Okay, because I was going to say, because if not, then we would never see a like 8:45 at night day in July still have daylight. Like,
right.
Again.
No, it's the other way around. And Adam, as a fellow golfer, this twilight golf comes back into play, man. Like it's the best, dude.
Even tonight, again, for those of you guys who are breaking down the fourth wall, we record usually around 8:15. This podcast seemed to just come so much faster. Like when I looked at the clock tonight and it was like 6:30. 3 weeks ago, I'm like staring at the clock. I'm like, oh, it's 5:15. Like it's never going to get here because it's so dark outside. Yeah. It just makes the night go faster when it's light out.
Changes your whole mood. Your whole mood changes.
In what, a month and a half, those mornings are bright again. And then at that point, the afternoons and the evenings are bright too. So now it's all full circle and we're all ready to go.
We're about to gain what's it like? We gain like an hour and a half of daylight up here in the Northeast.
Something like that. Yeah. So there's a day in June around the solstice, the summer solstice. You learn science on this show also, where in Alaska they have a day-long baseball tournament where they have games at like 3 a.m. and it's bright out. It's still
all day,
like 10:30 in the morning at 3 in the morning.
Yeah,
that's I as much as I think it's awesome, it's one of those things where it's like it's cool unless I was there, and then it would probably freak me out. How do I sleep? When would I want to sleep?
Gotta get the
Kid,
blackout.
that was the worst. You got punished, or you had to go to bed early for something at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever. The sun's still out. Kids are still talking outside.
Yeah,
and
you can
sit in
hear
your
all the
bed.
kids
That was
running
the
around.
worst.
Yeah.
Imagine that for however many weeks they have it, because they have, the clock's got to run back around with the sun. So it's like they ain't there for a while. They got to deal with that out there. But they're also living in Alaska, so they got their own issues.
All right, it's a great pick. Let's move it to me. That was going to be my pick. So now I'm down to one thing I definitely want, and then a bunch of things that I'm not sure about. So I'm going to go. This is going to be kind of on Al's side, where it's not really recurring annually, but your first college party.
What is this, the Wonder Years now all of a sudden?
Listen, especially if you went
where are we going with this direction in this episode?
When you go to a big school, we all went to big schools, and you go into a college basement for the first time, and you realize I'm on my own. I can do what I want. I'm with a bunch of kids that are going to do whatever we want. It's a feeling of freedom that I don't know if you ever get at any other point in your life. So I debated putting the first day of college, because that's one specific feeling. But I ended up going with the first college party, because you watch all these movies and you're like, it can't really be like that. But then it is like that.
Well, I'll be honest. When I first got that taste of freedom, I was scared to death. I was scared to death. I remember the first night I had when I was at Temple, and I had there was like a little like thing that they had prior to the actual official semester starting, and it was an overnight situation to try to get friends and get settled into the campus and this and that. And I got bunked with this random Indian kid, and we talked for maybe like an hour in the room we had. He had known people that were there, so he went somewhere. I didn't know anybody at the time that was there that night. And I literally just sat in that room and was like, this can't be the next 4 years. Like, I can't be like this. This can't be me for it. And thankfully it wasn't, but it was scary as all hell. And also the first time I went to a party, Seltzer, I saw things I never like. I'm not going to talk about on the show, but it was things that I was like, whoa, this is real life.
Penn State was I think at the time probably more overwhelming. That like I didn't feel overwhelmed, but looking back, like that world being your oyster at the age of 18 is a lot to handle. And I think
you felt like you could.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I 100%. We went out there with this ragtag group of kids. Like half of them I didn't even talk to after like the first month. That just walked out and just like it's like the world is ours right now. Like we can go wherever we want. You just you literally think that every party on this campus right now is going to accept you if you walk into that door.
I could be as drunk as I want. I'm never going to get an underage drinking. It doesn't matter what I do. Yeah, it's a feeling that like I don't know if you could ever get again, but it's a great time. The first semester of college is just fantastic.
I'm just trying to think of another situation in life where you walk into a room like similar to that situation, and it's like that whoa feeling. I don't know if I guess there would be like people that were like pro athletes when they made the big show or the NFL, whatever. They're probably like, whoa, this is crazy. But like as far as regular people, I don't even know if there's another day that would or place that would be like that.
My first day as the teacher of my own classroom, I had that because I was like,
you did.
Oh, like I'm the adult in the room. Like it's 24 9-year-olds and me. That was like I went home that day and I was like, whoa, like I sat down, I had to like reflect. It was a heavy day. Heavy day.
They're depending on me for their education.
Yeah, dude, it was like just like thinking like if something goes wrong, like it's on me. Like there's no like, hey, help me. Like it's like no, I have to do it.
Yeah.
It was wild.
All right, Chris, your last two. Go ahead.
So I think I mentioned
you
before
think NFL Week 7 for Chris.
The trade deadline for baseball. I'm a big Halloween guy. I said it before. I love Halloween. That's definitely one of my favorite days of the year. I'm a big fall guy. I love the season changing, the whole foliage. Since we're all sentimental on this show tonight, I'm just going to keep that going.
First leaf drop of the year.
First leaf drop, the smell of the bonfire. You know what I mean?
Pumpkin flavors.
Love the whole thing with the candy. Love seeing the kids dress up. When I was younger, love seeing the girls dress up, or dress down, whatever way you want to put it. It's just an awesome day. I think it's a fun time, especially on a weekend. When it falls on a weekend, forget it. A Halloween on a Friday or a Saturday night is awesome. And even
Did
now,
you officially say Halloween?
Huh?
Did you say Halloween?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And even as an adult now and a homeowner, like giving out trick-or-treating or candy to trick-or-treaters, I love that. Like, I know some people are like, oh, I don't feel like dealing with this crap with the kid. I think it's hilarious. I love, like my wife and I love doing that when it comes around. And also get to hear Thriller throughout the whole day. One of the best songs ever made. So I'm a big Halloween guy. That's my number 4. And then I get back to back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Woo. I'm going to take. This is tough because I got like 4 days where I really love and I could put in here. I'm going to take. I think someone mentioned it earlier in passing, the Kentucky Derby Day.
Oh, I love that day. I wasn't going to take it for this trip. I love the Kentucky Derby Day, dude.
So Derby Day is normally the first Saturday of May, for those who don't know. And aside from the race, especially when you bet on it, you have these big dreams of making this trifecta box hit that you're going to make all this money, and you never do. And it's on my bucket list to get there to Churchill Downs and actually like see it live and dress up and do the whole thing. I love dressing up anyway. So like, I want to get some point in life a chance to do that. But it also has become within the last several years, a big fight night.
Yeah.
And UFC and boxing. And as a big boxing guy, it's great to have a night where you get the homies over, have some drinks, watch the Derby, hang out, get some food. That night, you got a good fight on. Again, it's May. The season's kind of at that point, and where we're at least, the season's pretty much changed for the most part. And you just feel good, man. It's the start of that spring season officially, and it's just ready to roll. So I love Derby Day. It's a big.
Have you ever been? I've been to the Preakness. Have you been down to the Preakness at all?
No. I the only thing I've done as far as horse racing in person is concerned is I was at Parks which was Smarty Jones' home stable, and when he was going for the Triple Crown, we were there, and it was pandemonium. It was packed. It had to be at least 100,000 people there that day. And when Birdstone, I'll never forget it.
Birdstone.
Yes, when Birdstone passed him at the very end. And I remember watching, it was one of those moments where like you look all over and you want to just catch it and see how like just embrace the whole like feeling you get from that moment, that historic moment. And I'm looking around at other people because we all thought Smarty had it in the bag. Here comes Birdstone. And I remember seeing a kid on a table and his face literally went from doing this to. And I was like, yo, what is it? And I turned around and then that was it. And it was, you could hear a pin drop in that place at that point in time. And it was packed. So that was like the most notable thing I've done so far with the horse racing, as well as also when California Chrome won the Kentucky Derby years later, we were at Park, Sarah and I went, and it was not nearly as packed, but it was still packed nonetheless. And there was a jockey that raced a horse at Parks that day that was watching the race behind us outside on the bench, and he was doing California Chrome, California Chrome, California Chrome. Like he was riding the horse on the bench. It was fantastic. He's like a 4'9" jockey that was just going ape. So, but that's all I've done as far as like the in-person, the horse race stuff. But that's a great day, a Derby Day.
Got it. All right. So for my last pick, I'm going to go off the grid. And I'm going to put in the buffer vacation day. And what I mean by that is
It's a buffer.
the buffer vacation day. So you go away on vacation. Let's say you go Sunday to Sunday, but then you take that Monday off when you get back because you're not ready to go to work. You gotta do some laundry, you gotta do some stuff around the house, and you're just not ready to get back into the work world. So you take that week off, but then you take that extra day so you can sleep in a little bit, get back to your normal life, and then you go back to work. That day after vacation is a beautiful, beautiful day.
You a slacker. That's an L, cuz.
You didn't have to pick that to lose this, but now you just iced it.
Yeah, that's
Dude, that's a great day.
Just iced it.
That's an old. You had some 2 old ass picks with your last 2 picks. Some of a golf
First
trip
college
and a bonus vacation day from work.
Michael Buffer day.
Yeah, the Michael Buffer.
You guys don't like the extra day?
No, it's great, but isn't it great? Like one of the best days for this list.
So
I mean, we're on day 14 here. I could go Christmas if you want to go Christmas, but
you could have. There's plenty of
with us just getting home from Florida. We said like we wish we had a day where we were home, but not still like in life yet. And just like
that's the Buffer vacation day.
Yeah, I know, but that day just doesn't exist anymore at a certain point.
I was going to say, because even on that day, you find that you need to do something, and then the next thing you know, the day's over with.
Yeah, but it's still better than just having to jump right back into the work world.
I'd rather just have the extra vacation day. Just let me go to vacation Sunday.
I was going to say, why wouldn't you just take off 6 days instead of 5?
When you got a limited vacation, you just do whatever you want.
No, yeah. See, I always used to just bake that day into the trip or the vacation time.
Well, we're all not educators here.
Can we do some notables?
Wait,
I think his last one.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. My fault.
I was going to take Christmas just to ice this, but now I don't have to. So now I can take one of my subjective favorites, and I'll go ahead and take it. And it's Masters Sunday. Masters Sunday. If you like golf and you like drama, there is nothing. It is the best golf day of the year from a spectator point of view. It is the creme de la creme. Something always happens. There's always some kind of dramatic finish, or somebody puts it into Rays Creek or something. A hole in one or close to a hole in one occurs. So I love every day of the Masters. Thursday of the Masters is fantastic. Waking up and watching that leaderboard. If you're in a pool and all of a sudden you see the red number or you see the green number. And then moving day on Saturday is always another fantastic day, but you got to go with the closer. I mean, watching Tiger Woods win it in 2019 was like, it brought tears to my eyes. Not many sporting events bring tears to my eyes, and that's one of them.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say, the only time I watched a sporting event where I literally got emotional was that Tiger Woods 2019 run. I'll never forget it. What was it? Coming down 7 when he's walking down 18, I think it was. And that pool of people, literally everybody in that course was behind him, and what he'd gone through, and everything just at that moment was just like a movie. I mean, I still get chills like thinking about it. That was one of the greatest sports moments of all time.
Yep.
And I don't know if unless he wins it again, I don't know if we'll ever see something like that with a guy of his caliber do something in that moment that's special.
And just from a narrative standpoint, as far as the actual, like the way it all happened, everyone crumbling around him too, like as the day went on. That was when Francesco Molinari.
Oh my God, that dude. I was so mad.
And he just crumbled. Like it was just
and
what a day. Brooks too, missed that putt. Unbelievable.
No, it's a great day, especially if you're into it in the golf. Just trying to think of other. I mean, it's like every year at some point there's something that is so memorable that happens on that Sunday, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
What was the guy back in the 90s that had that epic collapse? Can't think of his name.
Greg Norman.
Well, no, not Norman.
No, I think you're thinking of Van de Velde. That's not the Masters.
Yeah. What was that?
That was the British Open.
That was British Open? Okay. Yeah. Then maybe it was Greg Norman I'm thinking about then.
Yeah, Greg Norman was up 6 going into Sunday and lost the foul.
That's what that's what it was. The Shark. Yeah.
My boy Rory blew it not too long ago too, about 10 years back.
Yeah.
So look, before we go into some honorable mentions, I'm looking at the list. I'll go over them. Al, I'll give it to you. You played it up for the fans because you went for the birth of your child, and like people can't not pick the birth of their child. So you're playing to the crowd, even though it's kind of bullshit because we can't pick that. And the wedding day, The wedding day is just playing to the female crowd. So I'll give you credit. You went out on a limb. You needed a win, and you took it. So again, here are the 5 for each. Chris went with Super Bowl Sunday, 4th of July, NFL opening Sunday, Halloween, and Kentucky Derby Day. I went with the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, the last day of school, the first day of a buddy's golf trip, first full day of a buddy's golf trip, your first college party, and then the buffer vacation day. And then Al has the first day of March Madness, your wedding day, the birth of your first child, daylight savings, and Master Sunday. So I think Al has the best squad. I give him that.
A lot of firsts on these lists.
I'm
First day of.
I'm proud of. I think I'm proud of my list. I also think that Al again probably would have won if it wasn't for the daylight savings day.
You don't like daylight savings? I definitely would have picked that.
Oh,
next.
That's an incredibly strong choice. Incredibly.
So Chris,
strong.
you said you had some honorable mentions. Let's run through them real quick.
Oh, so just the days I was thinking about. The first one is and again, the last day of school thing was a big pick for me. I didn't get to make it, but MLB opening day.
I thought one of you was going to have that. I was surprised neither of you
baseball opening day is a big day, not only for the fact that it's baseball's back, but it also signifies the beginning of the season of summer, spring, the whole thing. Like just that being in that mode, being able to watch a game every night and chill out, relax. You know what I mean? That's always good, especially when you got a competitive team.
Remember when it was such a big deal? Like people used to skip school, like the whole time. I mean,
we used to go to the vet.
It's just not that big of a deal anymore.
Joe Roa, and they played Pittsburgh. Remember that game?
We almost got into a fight senior year, I think it was, with I don't want to say names on here but protect the IDs of the innocent, as they say on the TV shows. But some interesting things happened. But the vet was always, I mean, that was a wild place, man. What else would I have? I had here's a good one. You guys are gonna be, let's see reaction with this one. As a big wrestling guy, the Royal Rumble day. I love the Rumble, even more than WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble is awesome, and I love when it's coming around and that night looking forward to it, hearing the rumors. Who's coming back? Who's going to be in the Rumble? Who's supposed to win? Who's going to be having the title shot at WrestleMania? All that kind of stuff. I'm in on that. Also, Thanksgiving. That's chalk. Thanksgiving is a great day. Shame on us for 3 people. We didn't find a way to get it on there, but it is.
But you found a way to get July 4th on there.
No, July 4th. I still put that above Thanksgiving, but it's still a great day, though. And then also, as a movie guy, Oscar night, which happened for me Sunday night. Oscar night's a big night for me in the guest house.
So what you're saying is you're lucky that this wasn't an 8-round draft because
hey, I cut my losses.
Shit the bed.
I got to trim it down. I trimmed it down.
I have 2 more I want to throw at you guys, and one specifically for both of you guys. This one's kind of generic, but the first day where you can roll your windows down.
I have that too.
Yeah, and you can just spring is strong.
I have that.
But here's the issue with that. It could be in February, one of those freak days where it's 70, and then it goes to 35 the next day.
No, I hear you. That's why I didn't pick it. But like that day is still a great day. Back when we were in high school, everybody would go to Houston Playground. There'd be outdoor basketball all day.
Back when kids actually went outside. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great day.
I can predict the day you're going to say next.
Well, I gave you guys a hint. I want to know your opinion. I wouldn't put it on there, but what about the first day of school?
No.
Like the second day of school sucks.
I wouldn't.
But what about the excitement as a kid going back to see your friends for the first time in a while? No, would we put that on there or no?
I was never excited for that as a kid.
We can see our friends whenever. I don't care.
That was more of I wanted your guys' opinion on it more than I believed in it.
No, I was going to say you were going to pick the first day that Rita's opens.
I thought about that earlier, and I was like, I forgot to put it on my list.
Haven't gotten my Rita's cup yet.
The problem is it's earlier and earlier every year now. It's not that special anymore.
Dude, I have the worst. Let me tell you this, Norristown Rita's, if you're listening to this, you are the worst Rita's establishment in the area.
It's such a bad spot.
It's horrible. They'll have a line of 15 people. They got one person working.
Yeah,
it's an old lady. They got 5 flavors. All the other Ritas have like 20 flavors, and it's got ice chunks in it, man. You gotta mix it.
Lit, dude. One by us is dope.
The one in Malvern Paoli has fantastic pretzels. I don't know what they do, but Awesome.
It's always good too when you find the rare Ritas where you can walk in and have the water ice and not just be at the stand. I think that's a nice. That's a nice item to have.
Agreed. I heard they're opening drive-through Ritas. They're pushing for that now.
I can go for that.
That'd be interesting.
Oh, that'd be huge.
Yeah, I can
My other bone to pick with Ritas is like, again, we've said this, like they won't have flavors like lime and watermelon, but they'll have dragonfly fruit fest, stuff like that. Like, just give me the good stuff.
I like the new flavors each year. I like trying Dragonfly Fruit Fest.
I
don't mind it, but like you gotta have watermelon.
Wait, what's your go-to? Real quick, each one of you. What do you get?
I like wild black cherry. I'm a wild black cherry guy.
So I just for the first time had it last year, and now it's bona fide favorite lime.
You said that before on a pod.
Never thought I would have lime, and I had it one time, and it literally turned me out.
I might have to try it. I'm a child. I go with the cherry mango mix.
Yeah, mango's always a good. I'm not a big cherry guy, but I like mango.
Sometimes I go cherry chocolate.
Okay.
I'm a chocolate fiend for life.
I'm not a fan of chocolate water ice.
I'll go with chocolate.
Why wouldn't you just get the chocolate ice cream?
I'm not because the soft serve. I'm not a soft serve guy.
I like the mint chocolate chip ice water.
Also good.
Cream ice.
Cream ice, very good.
Yeah,
that's very good.
Do you have any other
also
days?
like whenever they have like the strawberry lemonades, they're good.
Yeah.
That stuff. So, all right. I think we've gone over the time. Al, do you have any other ones you wanted to throw out there?
Christmas was obvious. Windows down first day. I have that. It's just too personal. I didn't think anybody else would, but I guess I was wrong. So then the last two I have, this one I thought would have been, you guys wouldn't have allowed it. Payday.
Ooh, that's a hood pick.
Payday.
That's like you've been on the grind.
I think it's
got to be picking payday.
I think it's got to be annual, but I thought about putting like bonus day.
Yeah. Well, we don't get bonuses.
I was going to say that's a bougie pick too, Seltzer.
Yeah.
Everybody ain't got no bonus.
And then buffer vacation day and bonus day, you guys. That's like Al taking firstborn child. Like he ain't got it. We ain't got it, Chris.
I think you guys will appreciate this one. This is more of a retro pick. The day that an anticipated album would drop.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Back in the day, in the 90s and the 2000s, like when you knew like that Jay-Z album, that DMX, whatever, like the day was
go to the wall, pick it up.
Dude, you had it circled on the calendar. Oh, man, that was a big day.
And now
you know what I would compare that to as not being a big movie guy, but when you go back to high school, the day Madden came out.
Yeah, like video games, movies, CDs. Like nowadays, these kids, like artists don't even announce it anymore. You just go in your app and you're like, oh, Beyonce dropped a record at midnight, and here it is. Like it's not even any chance to have an anticipation for most of these people anymore, especially the big artists. They just drop it like a thief in the night nowadays.
It's almost better to do that because then you catch everybody off guard and you get more buzz.
Nowadays, yeah. That's a good one though.
But
I definitely miss those days.
Those are the days, and we'll be coming up on one of our favorites. March Madness coming up on Thursday. So everybody enjoy that. And until next time, let's drop that beat.